A message for my people.
Nick Dais, baby. We the new label.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Now this the black sheep sticking its home. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby.
I need it.
In hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do. When they can't compete and I got nothing to lose. You see, they told me
All right,
I'm the
here we go.
one that's gonna benefit.
There it is. Sensational. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the birthday episode of Veterans Minimum. 8 years old. Back in 2015, the very first episode I did was an NFL preview show where I famously picked Sam Bradford to win MVP.
Oh,
That was terrible. That was
rough
terrible.
time.
Come a long way.
We've come a long way. So shout out to all of you that have been listening. Shout out to the boys that I'll be introducing in studio right now. As you see, we got my guy George to my
Hello,
left.
people.
We got Jared straight across from me, another great New Yorker in the building. And we got Josh in the building, American Fan 365. Thank you, boys. This episode means a lot to me, so we're going to start this with a salute. I don't normally drink on the show, but I don't say no as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
Salute.
Mhm.
Salute.
Mm.
Ooh, it goes down smooth.
Yeah,
I like it.
nice.
Castle in the Clouds.
Phase 3 Brewing Company. It's nice.
Tripping Animals Brewing.
Pixel Density. I like the hazy IPA. Super hazy.
If you guys want to grab some of these beers, shout out to Taver, a craft beer delivery service that will fill your fridge with unique craft beers. Use the promo code VM at checkout and get some bonus credits going your way.
Love a good craft beer.
You want the bonus credits.
Listen,
You want those.
I'll be honest with you. The reason why I'm not in better shape, beer.
But you know what, though? Worth it.
Worth it. Absolutely worth it.
That's all that matters.
Nice and filling.
Nice and filling, yeah.
This is going down super smooth. Like Corona almost.
Mm-hmm.
This is
A little bit.
This one's really
and they're
hazy.
random, yeah?
Yeah,
I'm
you
only
get-
going to get through probably a third of this, but then I'm going to tap out.
You get random selections. They send you random beers. And
But
it's
it is really delicious.
It's great. It's great. Okay, enough about that. Let's get right into it. I want to start this conversation with sort of an overarching thoughts on this upcoming NFL season. I'll throw it to you first, Josh. How do you feel about this NFL season?
Man, listen, last season was very exciting just in terms of all the ebbs and flows. I think this year, with a lot of the injuries, like some major players are coming back from injury. It's football season. So I think everybody is excited simply because football season is so short. If you're not excited week one, then, don't be a football fan.
Change. I think that doing this now this is like my fourth full season doing the media betting circuit for the NFL. And every year it's something new. It's just, whether it's some crazy injury or some storyline, it's the most exciting league.
For sure.
There's no doubt about it that the regular season in the NFL, each game Sunday, right? Every Sunday is kind of its own entity. Man, nothing is more electric than that.
Yeah, there's no preparation from 2022. I just say throw everything out the window. I think 2023, a lot of teams, new teams that were out of contention last year are going to be in a lot of games this year. And I think football is going to have more fines than ever before.
More
Fines.
fines.
For like uniform violations or for like
The tackles,
the late hits,
the tackles. It's going to be
the
weird.
adjudication of the game has gotten a lot more stringent over the years.
Good word.
That's
Good word.
hearsay.
Dude, that's a very good word there. I don't even know what that means, but we're just going to go with it, truthfully.
Yeah, but that's going above board for the audience. That's pretty solid.
That's not that adjudication.
I appreciate
you
it.
guys
I
could
appreciate it.
spell that word. Everyone, we could spell that word. I could spell that word.
Listen, I dropped out of college. All right, we're just gonna leave it at that. But we're giggling about the fines thing, but dude,
It's a good point.
I'm remembering immediately the Falcons Bucks game last year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where Brady gets hit on like a third
Grady
and
Jarrett, right?
yeah, lands on them and they throw
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, you can't even you can't do nothing to a
And they
quarterback.
had a couple of really ticky-tack personal fouls in the preseason.
Yep.
And I think what they're trying to do is get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And make it so that if you can't even do that in the preseason, it kind of, calms things down a little bit, sets the temperature.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think one of the other things I was going to mention is I think football will look the fastest it's ever looked this year. Like, I think the speed from not only just edge rushers, but like the pace of offenses, that leads to more like finable plays, because when people are flying around like that, like, and then they're going to slow it down, but like $40,000 at the beginning of the season for one of these hits that was completely fine. I was like, something to keep track of this year. Maybe a record.
I mean, speed leads to more points too, right? Like
these guys get bigger, faster, stronger every year.
Yeah.
Like it's that's why I always laugh at the comparisons to like Dan Fouts and Joe Namath in the 60s. Like the guy, even the backup, the third stringers today are bigger, faster, stronger than any of those guys.
I mean, across the board, like all sports, right? Like you always see these conversations about dudes in like the 80s and early 90s. Like, these guys wouldn't survive in the NBA.
They look like my dad's running around
it's
out
like,
there.
Yeah, dude,
right?
listen.
Start that janitor nonsense. This is a whole different conversation today. We're talking, keep it on football.
Keeping it on football. We'll keep it on football. I'm excited for this one. And I was talking to Jared when we went golfing the other day, went to the driving range. And it's a question I would love for you guys to chime in before we really get into this. Dude, do you feel like as you've gotten older, you get more and more excited with every football season? Because for me, this is the most excited I've been, I think, ever. You know, being out in Vegas now, even though I was here last year, I didn't really have a plan like I do now. Mm-hmm. And just the excitement every year seems to just go up and up and up.
I will say, and I'm sure I can probably speak to my gentleman on the right, for the teams that have been trash, it's a rough time. You temper your expectations and your excitement level based around the team and what you think.
I saw a winning record last year. I didn't know how to act.
I don't remember the last time the Jets had a winning record.
Yes, you do.
Been a few years.
It has been a few though.
Yeah.
It's been
like I don't remember the feeling of like
Mark Sanchez.
The playoffs. I think it was actually the Ryan Fitzpatrick year. They just missed the playoffs the last game against Buffalo. That was 5-6 years ago.
They won like 10-6. Dude, that was even further. Brandon Marshall was then.
Brandon Marshall was
2014.
Maybe 2014. Yeah, so it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It was a long time ago. I think the 2015 season, that fall, I think that's the last time they had a winning record.
See, so to answer that question,
7 years, long time.
It's different when you've been trash or at least trash adjacent.
Trash
for some time.
That's a pretty big word too, right there.
I like that. I like that.
Well, I mean,
a lot.
adjudicating is it's 80.
Yeah, I mean, so far that's the number one right now. Adjudicating is crazy.
I'm gonna try. Well, now you just set the challenge accepted, man.
Google the thesaurus here. But yeah, no, I'm in 100% agreement with you. I mean, my brother plays college football, so like seeing him play is, unlike anything else that I've ever like felt in my life. I mean, he got a pancake versus SC this past weekend, and I like embarrassed my family.
I was for San Jose State?
Yeah. I was jumping around. I was saying, he's giving out free rides on the fucking choo-choo train. And like, like the 20 people around me are like, this man is going crazy right now. So
that's high level fandom, George. Cheering for the offensive line. I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened with the other players. I just watched my brother every play. Nice. And they would score a touchdown and be like, good. He did well that play.
Hit that over. San Jose State team total over, baby. They were covered. Slicing and dicing that Trojans defense all game. Chevin Cordero, man, look great. Sorry, I don't go up.
No. You got it right though.
You said college football. You said that's where you live. So all right.
Keep an eye on the Spartans this year. But no, I'm fired up. And I also announced like local high school games. So I have a game that's like one of the biggest rivalries in Las Vegas this upcoming Friday. So regardless of if my team is good or not, football is in my blood. And now I'm getting like more access. I can only imagine in like 3 years, I'm going to be, really in the mix with a lot of these big time people.
It was another thing I was talking to Jared also about how, I feel like my fandom with the Giants isn't as much as it once was. Mainly because like I'm pretty rational with my teams. Like I'm not in here like, oh yeah, they're going to win the Super Bowl every year. Like one of those guys, or they're going to make the playoffs. The Mets are going to make the playoffs, or whatever it might be. But for me, it's like I'm pretty rational. When I know that they're going to be good and they lose, it ruins my whole week. When they've been trash for the years that they've been trash, Josh, I'm like, it doesn't upset me as much. This year I got a little expectations.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a good place to start there. Since you're a Commanders fan, I'm a Giants fan. Let's start off with the NFC East. I'll throw it to you first as a fellow NFC East fan, kick us off with who you got winning this division.
I'm going to do it. The Commanders are going to take it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure this out. We are howling for Hal.
Drink to that.
Yeah, drink to that.
Yeah, you all take a shot on that one for sure.
And ironically enough, I said that I'm pretty rational with my fandom, Jared.
You led him up perfectly.
That was a layup. Yeah.
I'm obviously rational, and and listen, to your point too, and I know Jared, me and him are similar ages. As you get older, I feel like your fandom, I won't say it wanes, but your relationship with pro sports changes.
Yep.
I don't have any children, so I don't see the game through my child's eyes or trying to make it magical for them. Once you've played all these sports and done things, it shifts when these kids keep coming in, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm as old as the coaches. It starts to get different, but it's neither here nor there. As far as the Commanders go, I've said on this show, and you have chastised me for this many times. It rests on three things. I think the least of those is Sam Howell, because if the other two things do their job, Sam Howell will take care of him. He will take care of his job. And that is, the defense has to be dominant, not just or trying to hold on. We need to actually really impose our will. And the second thing is the O-line has to gel and protect Hal and open up running lanes. Our O-line is it's a little bit of a wasteland. So if those two things happen, I feel Sam Howell will perform. I'm not going to say that he's going to, set the world on fire, but I also will say that he will be better than any quarterback that we've had in the last 5 years. And that is enough to get us to 10 to 11 wins.
The reason why I was making fun of you when you had these takes, because Washington was one of the 15 teams that you gave 12 wins to this year. It's just
Nice.
Dude, he was sitting over here.
Not enough wins to go around.
Yeah, he was just
last season.
He was just like Oprah. He's like, they could win 11 to 12 games. Oh, they could win 12 games. I'm like, bro, you just listed 18 teams that could win 12 games. It's just not possible.
Josh,
not possible.
I would never live this down. He's doing this now in front of company now. So now I'm embarrassed and a little upset.
you need to do a full episode
Sorry,
on
this is
how
a safe space.
12 wins is even possible for the Commanders.
They're
That'll be
favored in 2 games all year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And you know what else, man? Sticking with Sam Howell, he's had a great preseason so far. Seems like Dotson has become his number one wide receiver.
That's the guy to look at on this team.
That's the guy for sure to have
That's the guy.
a breakthrough. And I just think the range of outcomes for him might be the widest in the league. He could be good, and yeah, maybe they do compete for the division, but then it could also be
really bad,
terrible. The range of outcomes for Sam Howell, and there's a couple of guys in the league too, but I do think they have a great front line. And when I'm looking at the NFC, Jared, I'm looking at all right, can you be in the trenches with Philly, Dallas, and San Francisco? We saw Washington go into Philly and beat them, and they had multiple turnovers that game. Yeah, it's in division. Your division, but their front line is really dominant. I'd say top 5 to 8 in the league.
Top 5.
For sure.
Top 5.
Chase, well, that's the thing.
There he is.
Chase Young. We haven't
Contract
talked
year.
about him in 2 years.
Contract year now, too. So he's going to ball out because that's the recipe, right?
This is
You want to double down on the guy that's going into a contract year.
And it makes Montez Sweat that much better.
Yeah.
And again, those two guys, you saw it with Pittsburgh last year when we get to them and TJ Watt. You take that top pass rusher off the field, it just changes the way offenses can attack.
Yes.
100%.
And I think if Chase Young is operating at even 80% of the capacity we think he can be at, and Montez Sweat is as good as he's been over the last 2 years, there's not a lot of 1-2 duos in the NFL that can, who you double team in there.
Yeah.
So
And then,
that's the key.
once you double team, then you got Jonathan Allen, and then Daron Payne was a Pro Bowler last year too. So
they're stacked up front.
Oh, yeah.
That's the strength
when you
of their
said
team.
5 through 8, I told Josh earlier, I was like, I think they may have the best defensive line. And it just, it doesn't show because their offense doesn't really produce. But we see that in a lot of teams, Jared, your Jets being one of them. But I had the Commanders coming in last for this division.
Me too.
And
Same.
it's definitely a prove-it year for Sam Howell, but they also have Jacoby Brissett here as their backup quarterback, which it's also not a bad plug-in. I mean, he's been a journeyman. So
I mean, best quarterback on the Browns last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I have a question about the head coach too.
Yeah.
I don't like the situation. I don't like the fact that Eric Bieniemy is just the only reason he took that Washington job is because in his mind he's probably thinking, I looked at the odds board on who the odds for the first coach to be fired next season, and it's Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
And I want to be a head coach. So why would I make a lateral move from the offensive coordinator of
the best offense in the league,
an ivory tower of embarrassment of riches? Lateral move to go to Washington to be the OC with a bad a new unproven quarterback with bad offensive line, and just he wants to be the head coach, and so that's not a great situation there.
He's lost his aggressiveness. Would you say?
I don't know. Well, I don't.
He's lost it.
Oh, you talking about Ron?
Ron. Yeah, Ron Rivera.
No, he's. Lord have mercy. Like this isn't a safe space for these kind of conversations. But I will say my whole thought process is if we do play well, I think that the new ownership moves Ron Rivera upstairs. Eric Bieniemy becomes the head coach of the team.
Yeah,
that's what I would want.
But we're still in the transitionary phase, and that is bad juju for this team's going to be a team that can win a division this year. Like I don't see that.
Yeah.
There's a headline somewhere along middle of the season. Players turning on Eric Bieniemy. I think
I think it could go either way.
And but you know where that would start? Obviously, the head coach Ron Rivera already has done it. He already did it once.
He already threw him under the bus, and we're not even playing games yet.
Like, come on, bro.
There's
bad
something.
vibes.
There's something off right now. Washington is a franchise in serious transition. Very hard to be consistent, level-headed for 18 weeks when you have all of this stuff happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Makes the actual games, which is the only thing that matters for your win-loss record, that much harder. And it's already hard enough to win in the NFL without all that behind-the-scenes stuff happening.
George, who do you got winning this division?
You're going to love me for this.
Uh-oh.
I have the Giants.
Wow.
The New York Giants winning the division.
You hear that? You hear that?
Listen, okay, you didn't wear your tight underwear today. That's
didn't,
your
no.
fault.
Yeah.
All right. But you should have known that when you have a team like the Giants, right? Saquon starting the trend of like, hey, listen, this is what we're worth. I'm willing to sacrifice going through that tough contract negotiation. You got Danny Dimes. And then you guys just picked up one of my favorite defensive players from the past 3 years in Isaiah Simmons. And I'm like,
he already has a sack in the preseason.
Shit. I mean, you guys have a very good chance. I do think this is a year of like the NFC East being called the NFC Least because it's so competitive. I think the teams will beat up on each other, but I have the Giants and Danny Dimes really dialing it in and getting the top record there.
Damn, Jared, how about you? Because I'm gonna close it out with the Giants. You got the Eagles?
I mean, listen, guys, I love all the abilities to go chase the big plus money underdogs here, but I think I don't want to overthink the best team in the conference.
Yeah.
They are overwhelmingly better in the trenches. And I think at quarterback, we'll get to that later when we talk about the MVP, but I think the Eagles, also when you lose the Super Bowl, I mean, Joe Burrow had a tough situation the year after they lost. He had an appendectomy in July, and they lost 2 really tight games early in the year. Philly doesn't have that issue. Jalen Hurts 100%. That team's ready to roll.
You know what's crazy about Philly is, dude, they check all the boxes for a team I want to fade.
Really?
They lose both coordinators.
Yes.
Lost some pieces on
That's fair.
defense. Right now, you have a full year of the Jalen Hurts experiment. Not experiment, the experience, I should say, where now he's, I do have an idea where you're.
Anymore.
Yeah. I know where you're headed later with the MVP stuff, and I don't disagree with you. But man, it's so hard when they're the definitive first or second best team in the conference. That sucks, right?
Yeah.
Like this NFC is pretty weak. Injury luck last year, I'm a big believer in like injury luck. They lucked out. They didn't suffer no crazy injuries.
And that's my retort. Because
Hurts had the injury at the end of the year.
Not Hurts. If you remember,
but when I mean injury luck, I mean like
The whole roster.
What's happened to Baltimore?
Anybody.
What's happened to Baltimore the last couple of years?
every running back they've ever had has
or just
been hurt.
DBs, receivers.
The coordinator thing's valid. I think it's a little less with offense because Sirianni really runs it.
Sure.
Fair.
But defensively, very valid with Steichen. Very, very valid.
Jared, the one thing I will say, the year before, remember, last year, back to health, they lost all of their starting line almost.
Yeah.
And I think it's 3 out of the 2 linemen that they have are longer in the tooth. When you talk about Kelsey and then I forget the
Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson. Both of them are over 34.
Malachi, right?
Jordan Mailata.
Mailata he's like 28. He's not old.
He's their stud.
No,
now.
I think he's younger than that.
He's their
Is he
stud.
younger than that? Because I know
26.
Because
he's
I know
really young.
they had 2 young guys, and I was like, okay. But they have the 2 that are like basically the leaders of that line. That if those 2 guys go down again, because remember when they did go down, you saw what that team can look like. So
They also added Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. I think both.
Well,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Bulldogs.
and Ringo,
the Philadelphia.
Don't forget about Ringo too.
It's basically just taking the team that just dominated the entire college football landscape and taking the 2 best players on that team and dropping them onto what was already
A very
the
good team.
fiercest defensive line that had the most sacks in the league last year.
Dude, I've talked about this so many times because I saw it in person with the New York Giants. The Giants from 2007 to like 2012, they had an elite offensive line, elite defensive line.
Trenches, bro.
And what they do in the draft, they tried to get running backs and DBs and tight ends and wide receivers. And then eventually your strength becomes a weakness because you're not addressing it. I love what San Fran does. What do the Niners do every year? Yo, more D-line. Yeah, but you got
Load up
both.
on 'em.
No problem.
Doesn't matter.
More D-line. And what's Philly
Can
doing?
never
More
have
in the
enough
front.
guys to block and rush.
Yeah.
You only need one skill guy.
Yeah.
The quarterback.
Yeah.
The other skill positions naturally and organically can be, allocated properly. The lines and the quarterback.
Those
Those are
hard
the
to
2
find.
first
Yes.
things I look at on every team I try to break down. And the rest of it is auxiliary. It's all noise.
I think the Eagles are prime for a fumble Rooski with all the tush push. They're going to get creative with that play.
100%.
Yeah, because now everyone expects it too.
It's going to be fun.
That's
I'm
why
excited.
Jalen Hurts is going to lead the league in rushing touchdowns this year.
There's going to be like a guard that scores a touchdown on a fumble Rooski. I'm calling it.
He's going to get so many carries in the goal line. What do you have? 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Rushing
Yeah.
touchdowns?
Be careful with all those extra carries and all those extra
Well,
hits.
yeah, we'll worry about you're right. You're right. That's why he
Yeah,
got
but-
hurt in
but
week
dude,
16.
But dude,
You're
you know
right.
what? Truthfully, man, I don't factor that.
Well, it's
'Cause it's
hard
random.
to analyze injuries.
It's
Once
random.
it happens,
Well-
you can analyze how the team changes without him, but it is impossible to predict an injury.
Yeah.
And
You
you're
can't-
wasting your time if you're
You
trying
can't
to do that.
predict it, but I will say the amount of extra touches on a quarterback.
Yes.
Because he's
That's
already
fair.
going to
There-
get hit
yeah.
in the pocket. He's going to get hit out on the move. So now you add additional hits to
But
that.
maybe he's just the toughest dude in the league and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Then there's like Josh Allen's where it's just like, bro, you didn't need to do that,
Yeah.
you know? And then the Lamar Jackson just takes a knee.
The
And it's
Super Bowl.
There's a huge difference.
The Super Bowl loser is 6-13-2 to the over. Their win total is at 11.5 wins. Double-digit win totals hit at 44% of the time. So history doesn't back it. However,
No. They don't need to win 12 games to win the division, though. I don't think.
they don't.
Agreed.
And also, like, trends like that could be a little misleading.
Very misleading.
Because you gotta
Again, Joe
factor-
Burrow last year, appendectomy.
Right. But you also got to factor in just how good they are in comparison to the rest of the conference.
the
100%.
conference hasn't caught them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
We haven't mentioned the Cowboys.
Thank goodness. Can we keep going without mentioning them?
It's going to be hard when I have them winning the division.
Oh, boy.
The Trey Lance led Cowboys.
No. So here's the thing, right? And
Sell me on this.
I tell everybody this because I come off as a Cowboy hater. Meanwhile, there's not a team I hate more in my life than the Eagles, and I bet them to win the division and to go to the Super Bowl last year. So, like, go figure. My concerns with Dallas, George, are not September to December. It's in January. I think they're very dominant regular season teams. I think this roster is the best that they've had. Adding Brandon Cooks now, you have another weapon. You no longer have that Zeke stuff where I feel like Jerry
Yes.
Jones was coming
Yes.
down and being like, look, we're paying this dude $15 million. He got to get touches. The way I feel about Dallas this year is how I felt about Philly last year.
Okay.
And it's weird, especially you being a betting guy. It's weird that there's some value on the most popular team in the league. At least for me, that's how I see it. And, to me, they're one of the 4 best teams in the conference.
fair. If Dak Prescott plays to that level, it's fair.
How much of Kellen Moore leaving do you think plays a role in that?
More than what Philly's going to have to deal with their OC leaving.
Yes.
Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah.
I think that move underneath Aaron Rodgers is the two most transformative things that happen
To a team
in the offseason.
Without question. Yes.
And more so positive for the Chargers
Right.
and Justin Herbert. Whereas to me now you put LA kind of in, you bump their offense up a little bit and I think you knock down Dallas a little bit. But I think you bump up LA more than you knock down Dallas, if that makes sense.
No.
Because to me, Dallas still, as you said, very talented roster. Whereas the impact of going from check down Charlie Lombardi to Kellen Moore will have exponentially greater impact on Justin Herbert's season.
Yeah. And the other thing with Dallas, like I'm a big schedule guy. I think they have the most balanced schedule in the league as far as, they don't have that murderer's row like the Giants have. I haven't even mentioned the Giants yet. I love the roster for the Giants. I think it's a lot better than it was last year. Brian Daboll, to me, is, to use the MMA analogy, I think he's the best coach in the league pound for pound. Like for what he has, he's going to win 3-4 games that they have no business winning. Like he did last year.
Campbell
too.
Yeah, for sure. Look, those two guys helped build Buffalo, right? And Daniel Jones now, I think this is the best roster that he's had. He's actually going to have some weapons. He's getting a lot of guys back that missed injury last year.
Yes.
Hyatt, I saw drop 5 touchdowns on Alabama, and their entire secondary goes to the league every year.
Yep.
I think the issue that I have with the Giants is the schedule.
Too tough?
7 of the first 11 games are on the road, and it's like bar fights. Like they're playing tough opponents on the road. And look, I can't always come out and say, record in 1-score game matters to me. And then not mention that the Giants were like 7-2 in 1-score games last year. So there's going to be some regression.
Sure.
But then you look at the Giants roster also last year, they got devastated by injuries, right? They had Isaiah Hodgins became like a fairy tale in New York. Like this guy was off the practice squad with the Bills, and now he's getting 8 targets in the first half of the Vikings playoff game. So this is, they didn't have Sterling Shepard. I don't know what to expect from him. Dude's been, catastrophic injury after catastrophic injury. But they actually have, I didn't even mention Darren Waller.
Yeah, that's the one guy that I think is going to have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of...
Do you think he stays healthy, though?
I mean, again, I hope, because it'd be disappointing if he didn't. But odds are, based on his track record, no. But like we were talking about before the show, I'm an optimist. So
yeah, no.
I hope he stays healthy, because I think the Giants are a contender if those weapons are intact.
Yeah.
The offensive line scares me. And the fact that they had to win 1 million games basically from behind last year scares me. And the schedule scares me. I think the number's fair on them. I think it's a well-set line. I don't think they're a 10-win team, but I don't think they're a 5-win team.
No.
I think they're kind of 7, 8, 9 wins, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Maybe sneak into the playoffs, 7 seed, 6 seed.
Yeah.
When you look at those 1-possession losses, though, when you could almost look at it like Daniel Jones, in my opinion, up until last year, I was like, he just doesn't have it. Like, he doesn't have that last drive of the game, 2-minute drill type of persona. And I think last year kind of led me to believe that he actually can do this. And now I think, although they did pull him out late, he's seen what that looks like and what that feels like. And I think that plays huge into them winning the division for me.
I just think it's Daboll, man. I really think the impact that he's had on Daniel Jones is the reason why Daniel Jones went and signed the contract that he did. Look, it didn't really excite me, Jared, when he signed for that much, but who knows? If
the numbers are weird. They go up every year, so it always looks more extreme than it really is.
Right. But there could be a case to be made. Maybe this time next year, we're looking at it like, he's
a discount.
He's a discount, right? So you never know.
Inflation's crazy.
Inflation's crazy. And also now it's another year with Brian
NFL's
Daboll.
inflation's a totally different number than the inflation we all go through.
The TV deal is about to kick in even more. So then the salary cap goes up even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Honestly, at this point, no number surprised me anymore with these contracts.
No, and like I told you, I've said this on your show before, Nick. Listen, you pay the quarterback before you pay the running back.
Yep.
And as much as everyone was screaming to pay Saquon, if you feel that Daniel Jones is the guy that can at least lead your ship, you take him, because if not, you're going to be in that middle of the ground wasteland where you can't get the right quarterback and you're stuck. That's basically where my team usually is.
You know, the Giants last year, if you're into the DVOA stuff, they were 10th in offense. And this is with practice squad wide receivers.
Yes.
You know, not much there. Injuries to the O-line too. So
I got 2 nerd numbers for you on that.
Yeah, talk to me.
So year-over-year improvements. This is how you quantify what a head coach and an offensive coordinator does. So third down avoidance. The year before Dable, 31st in the league. Last year, 6th. First and second down. When I grade an offense, early downs, way more predictive than third down.
Yes.
More volatile. So third down avoidance is like, how do you get out of those difficult situations? How can you be efficient on first and second downs? They went from 31st to 6th. Red zone conversion rate, dead last the year before Dable and Kafka, 7th last year. That's how you quantify what a coach and an offensive coordinator can do for the confidence of a quarterback. Instead of 2nd and 8, it's 2nd and 6.
2nd and 4.
That's huge.
And dude, trust me, man, I was seeing Daniel Jones, like, it felt like he was 3rd and 12.
Every single
drive.
You're not going to win a lot of games. You do a lot of 3rd and 12s.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that stat on the Vikings last year.
It'll take me a
third
while,
down
but I can find
avoidance.
It'll
That's
have
a
to go
good
down.
stat.
It is. Third down avoidance is because it's like the inverse of early down success.
Absolutely.
George, give me your NFC East rankings.
My NFC East rankings goes as follows. I got the New York Giants with a 10-7 record, taken first. I have the Eagles also at a 10-7 record, taking second. I think the Giants edge them out. I think those games are going to be huge.
I think the Giants lose by a combined 80 in both of those games because it's always the case when they play Philly. They're going to ruin Christmas again this year. Bro.
I know. Aren't you going to be there? Aren't you going to be there?
Nah, my parents are coming for the holidays, so I'm going to be miserable on Christmas Day when the Giants are down 30 in the third quarter, Jared. I'll be pissed.
Don't put that in the atmosphere, bro.
Put on one of the old Super Bowls.
It's been my whole life has been that. It's been terrible. But go on.
Put on one of the old Super Bowls.
So then you got Cowboys
Then I got Cowboys third at an 8-9 record, and then I got the Redskins going 6-11.
Redskins.
That's right. It's Redskins.
Redskins.
Yes.
What does it say on my shirt?
Yeah, it says Redskins.
I think it's fair. I think you should go back to that name.
I got Cowboys 12-5.
Wow.
Philly 11-6. Giants 9-8. Commanders 5-12.
The disrespect.
I mean, their win total 6.5. That's fair.
Yeah. What do you got?
I don't know, but it's not that.
Who do you got first, second, third, fourth?
So on my notes, I said that the Eagles were going to win, but now that I have now changed that, I have to recalibrate. Listen, I think to George's point earlier, I think that the division will beat up on itself. There will be some volatility in terms of just taking losses in division. I think if my team can win it, I think we go 11-6.
Woo! I'll buy you a steak dinner. Washington goes 11-6.
And I'll take you on a steak dinner another time to go 11-6.
I like it.
2 steak dinners, 2-1 basically on your money.
I have the Eagles at 10-7. I have the Cowboys at 10-7, and then I have the Giants at 9.
Eagles 12-5, Cowboys 10-7, Giants 9-8, Washington. We'll call it. I'll be generous. We'll go 6-11.
Jesus.
Just under the total.
Wow, you guys really think we're going to be dog
I honestly think if the tumult with Rivera becomes a thing, the bottom could fall out unless Sam Howell's Superman. The bottom could absolutely fall out from that team if things do not go well behind the scenes.
Now, if we jump out, because our first
you're going to beat Arizona week 1.
Well,
hopefully
we literally just talked about that. If we don't beat Arizona by at least 12, I feel some type of way about the whole season.
Yeah.
But
Arizona's another train wreck.
Yeah, we'll get to them in a little bit. Let's move on to the NFC South, where, fellas,
say it.
My number 1 seed is here.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I have currently in my pocket, that's a lie because I don't have my phone, but on one of the apps, I have a 35-1 for the Saints to have the best record in football.
Wow.
On crack.
Only 35-1?
That's almost at the level of Washington having 11 wins. But that's okay. We like hot takes.
That is volcanic take.
Okay, so let me make the case. I've been doing content since 2015 where I'm really diving into schedules and all that shit. I don't think I've ever seen a more favorable schedule And you guys know I get a hard on for schedules. Like I don't make my futures and shit until I get the schedule, right?
Oh man,
It's true.
13 of 17 games they play indoors.
love that.
3 of 4 road games outdoors, obviously. However, 3 of them are before Halloween,
Wow.
which is when you would want to go to Foxborough,
Sure.
Green Bay, and Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. This is also I'm a pro Derek Carr guy.
Yes.
I think this is the best roster he's ever had around the
That's not up for debate. It definitely is.
The biggest concern I have, George, and you're a Saints fan, so I'll throw it to you.
There are no concerns, so that shocks me, but go ahead.
Dennis Allen as a head coach.
You got to
Fair.
look past it. You got to look at Nick Sirianni. Look at Nick Sirianni last year. Half the team thinks he's a literal fucking clown
But
coaching
that
the team, and they made it to the
that
Super
got
Bowl.
so blown out of
It did.
proportion
It's
because
not- it's not, though.
he had one silly press conference and everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's a clown."
Offensive
Dude,
coaches are better to me than defense. Like to me, if I had a choice of a head coach,
100%.
100%, I want an offensive minded head coach.
Mike Tomlin.
The exception
Mike
to the
McCarthy?
rule.
Yeah, there's like
There's
three.
exceptions.
Bill Belichick.
I honestly
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, my confidence in Bill's waning a little bit over the moves he's made, especially having Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator last year.
As a
But
defensive mind.
offensive minded head coaches, 100%. I always downgrade a little bit if they're not one of those.
Well, I mean, I can see it. He definitely doesn't have a presence. Like there's definitely something to be said about coaching presence on the sideline and whether or not it's notable. Like, you know, when Sean Payton was our coach, like everybody knew Sean Payton was our coach. There's times where you watch the Saints last year and you're like,
Where's
wait,
the coach at?
wait, who's calling this shit? But look past that.
Okay.
Everything you said before that is 100% spot on. Okay.
Can I add one more thing that really, really makes
Please
me.
do.
Ryan Tannehill, Bryce Young twice, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield twice, Mac Jones, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, Desmond Ridder twice, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, and Trevor Lawrence. Those are
It's
the quarterbacks.
the easiest schedule in the league according to
Say
a lot of the
100%.
analytical
Now, we say
projections.
this?
Yes.
No, not the Saints.
No, not the Saints.
Not the Saints. We don't
So
play the
they're
Saints.
playing the most mid might be a favorable statement for the
Mid-
quarterbacks that
mid
they're
is-
playing.
Mid is what they would love to face.
They're playing
That's-
one elite guy in Trevor Lawrence.
They don't play anyone in the top 5 of the Super Bowl odds. I mean, it is the easiest schedule in the league according to the pre-flop numbers.
I think you're discounting the Rams late in the season. I think that's going to be a really good test for us in December to kind of get playoff ready. That's my biggest downfall. Like I think they will be the.
That's your first call. Is the Rams in week 14, 15?
I think people are
a 4-win team is what he's worried about.
I'm.
Did you see the
telling
story that dropped on Matthew Stafford yesterday?
No, tell
No,
me.
that's
Tell me before
hilarious.
I.
We
Sure.
can get to it in the Rams.
Oh,
Okay,
my
we'll wait
God.
till we get to the
Yeah,
Rams.
we'll get to the
All right,
NFC
make
West.
sure you put a
No,
bet
I
in
just
that.
think they're.
It's a really good story.
Damn, now I'm worried to give any more Rams takes. But
We're going to that division
so-
next, so
yeah.
it'll still be fresh. But continue with the Saints, bro.
The Saints are going to see a resurgence from one of the greatest receivers in the last 15 years in Michael Thomas. I think.
weirdest NFL wide receiver career I've seen in the 20 years.
So you can't say that about. There's Antonio Brown.
Long Island guy.
He's,
Yeah,
just-
that's true.
that's-
Antonio Brown.
but that's wacky.
He's just been injury. He's
yeah,
just
he's
been
injury.
injuries.
But
And-
I like this Saints group. I mean, Olave is a stud.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love the kid they drafted from Wake Forest, A.T. Perry.
And you got Jamal Williams,
Yeah.
and then you got Alvin Kamara on a 3-game suspension, but then he's back, and he's back to AK-41.
I think
You
the
know?
offensive
It's just-
line, I did some deep dives on the O-line. I could pick a couple of holes, but deep level stuff. Like Trevor Penning, the left tackle they drafted in the first rounds, only played 6 games. He needs to play. They've got a little depth concern on the offensive line. But again, I'm nitpicking. They are the best team in the division, hands down.
3 out of the 5 return.
Yeah.
Andrews Pete, Cesar Ruiz, and Ryan Ramczyk. So that's
Well,
a
Penning's back
positive.
too. It just has to be healthy. That's the
Correct.
problem.
Correct.
He's there. He was their first round pick last year, and he didn't play. He barely played.
But beyond that, we have Demario Davis in the middle, and he could quite possibly be one of the best inside linebackers in the league, just as far as commanding a team to.
Former Jet, right?
Yep.
He learned from a good system up
nice
there.
job, Nick.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Well, who was coaching
I think-
defense back then?
No, I wasn't
was
trying
it-
to be a dick.
I don't
Was
think.
it-
I think he left after the Rex. I don't think he was around for Rex.
And I
Got
think
it.
he became the guy that he is now when he
Yeah,
got
with the
there.
Saints.
Yeah,
100%.
So it's not like
He was a stud.
And then Tyrann Mathieu. So I am predicting a cataclysmic collision between Derrick Henry and Tyrann Mathieu week 1. I just see it happening.
He
But
does not win that.
nobody
situation.
wins that, Josh.
Oh,
You show me a safety that can win. I mean, Isaiah Simmons possibly can win one-on-one
Don't
with
take that.
Derrick Henry
I mean,
coming
it's
down.
least-
Lattimore. I mean, they've got dudes in the second. Like they are the best roster in that division. I don't think there's any doubt about
We
it.
should just literally beat the ever-living shit out of everybody in our division.
Yeah. Carolina, I think, is really going to struggle. I bet an under 7.5 wins on them.
Yeah, I'm really low on Carolina.
I think all the rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle at first. I actually think Stroud might have the best chance to have long-term success because I just think Carolina's offensive line is just brutal this year.
Yeah.
Maybe long-term Bryce figures it out.
Jared, how do you feel about the Saints?
I'm over on the wins division. I think they win the division. I think New Orleans is that team. I think that division is a very unique division this year because there's a lot of people really high on Atlanta, and I respect the people who are on Atlanta. They moved the number up to a point where I can't bet the over anymore. I just don't like that defense.
Neither do I.
And when I look at defenses in the league, I value New Orleans ahead of every other defense in that division. Tampa Bay, I think Tampa Bay is another defense that does scare me. But their offensive, the Ryan Jensen news this week, and Baker Mayfield, he's got off-field stuff going on with this financial advisor scandal.
That was crazy. I saw that.
There's just and then of course Carolina with their offensive line. I don't see how New Orleans doesn't win this division. It would take a really, really difficult road for them with the schedule and everything.
And also, they probably got the best backup quarterback in the league in Winston.
He could start for probably half the teams.
100%. 100% the best backup in the league.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I'm with you on what you said about Carolina. I'll chime in a little bit about them. I don't see it at all. This probably of all my notes, I'll be fully transparent. It's the team I'm the least prepared for. I didn't like a lot of the moves they made. Like $14 million for Adam Thielen now is just a lot of weird shit. You know, last year,
go spend that on your O-line.
Last year at the trade deadline, they might have gotten rid of Brian Burns, who's like your only formidable defensive guy. Him and like J.C. Horn is really good at corner.
Yes.
But man, like, I don't, you know, Hayden Hurst at tight end, they paid him, decent money. Like, what are we doing?
And Hayden's pushing 30.
Yeah, and he's coming off a down year, and he was with Burrow, where like he never got double covered or like anyone focused on him. So Carolina, I got them at like 4-13. Bro.
They're only favored in 4 games.
Yeah,
4-13. Under
Yeah.
7.5 for Carolina seems like a pretty decent bet for wins.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Who
1,000%.
do you got in this division winning it?
Definitely the Saints. You know what I mean? The Saints, and then you obviously probably go Bucks just because of the nature of who they have. I think Mike Williams gets a lot of balls this year.
Evans.
Mike Evans, thank you. I think he gets a lot, but who's throwing him the ball?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield.
Well, is he? Yeah, I don't
Kyle
even know if that's
Trask.
confirmed yet.
No, it's going to be
It's
Baker.
confirmed.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like the entirety of their division is in flux. I think obviously the Saints are the class of the division. Now it's George and I were talking about this earlier on my show. Mike Williams, I need to have some more food.
Have some more beer.
Mike Thomas, what he's going to do for Chris Olave, I think is probably the biggest thing that really, I don't think a lot of people are talking about. George and I were talking about it. George, you said that Mike Thomas is like in 8th rounds, not even still being selected. I think if he remains healthy and is even remotely close to can't guard Mike,
we're going to be seeing
the Saints are going to be dangerous.
a lot of double bicep in the end zone right here after touchdowns. All right, you're going to be seeing just a shit ton of it. All right, he's the X factor.
When I said weirdest career, I meant that usually a wide receiver, when their contract is coming up, that's when they start acting funky and more of the antics. It's like, dude was like the ultimate, like Larry Fitzgerald 2.0. If you remember the first 2-3 years when he broke the record, 249 passes, I think he caught when he said it, and then Cooper Kupp beat it. But it's like, dude was, scoring touchdowns, giving it to the referee. Then he got $100 million. And then that's when like the fuckery started. That's when
As
it was
it typically does.
Yeah. But
Some of these guys just can't
That's why
handle
it was weird. Usually it's not. Usually it's
starts
like
before.
Yeah, it's beforehand, you know?
Money
So
does that to people.
it was just weird, man.
That's fair
I do
too.
want to
Money amplifies your best and your worst qualities.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. I do want to mention the Falcons though, because they're a team I got in the playoffs.
It's fair.
I got the Falcons.
A lot of
making the
really smart
playoffs.
people are very high on the Falcons this year.
A lot of smart people.
In the playoffs?
Dude. I don't like Bijan Robinson the pick long term, but for
That
this
was
year,
my number one pick in fantasy.
I wish I was in your league if that was the case.
Yes.
Wait,
same.
number one, the first player drafted?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. George was the number one
Ninth.
pick, and he
Okay.
freaking got Patrick Mahomes and blew my whole draft board because I
Mahomes
assumed Mahomes
at
was going to
8.
drop. Everyone's saying Mahomes is going to drop, and then
That's
George
fair.
takes him 1, and I was like, God dang it, that's who I want.
I'm glad you chimed in on that because I thought he took Bijan Robinson number 1 overall.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
let's
I'm not.
Okay.
Trust me. Listen, I'll look dead directly at the camera. I am not on crack. That's crazy.
Not
That's
yet.
crazy.
The Falcons, right? I don't like Bijan Robinson long term, but for 1 to 2 years, especially like a rookie running back, I think he could have a massive impact for Ritter. Dude, Drake London, baller. Kyle Pitts, we've been waiting for the Kyle Pitts
Yes.
generational talent all these
Yes.
years, but I like that they have a game wrecker all over the field on offense. So like Desmond Ritter has guys that could help him produce.
Yes.
They have no primetime games this year because like, why would they?
I hate you so much.
But they have a really young roster, and I think that they could level up. I like Arthur Smith too as a head coach, George. I think
He's big offense. He's big offense. I mean, I just don't see Desmond Ritter though being the guy.
So
I
he's-
loved Taylor
Agreed.
Heineke,
Yeah.
and I think Taylor Heineke, the same way a lot of people probably feel about Kyle Trask and Baker, even though I think Baker is that guy. I think Desmond Ritter is out of there before you know it.
Ooh. Heineke. That's what you think?
Yeah.
Jared, how do you got this division playing out?
New Orleans, 10 wins. I think their total's 9.5. I think 10-7, 11-6, I think is very fair for them. I'll give Atlanta 8 wins.
Okay.
I think that's where the numbers kind of settled at. It went 7.5 to 8.5. So actually, I respect your opinion, Nick. So I'll go 9 wins. We'll go 9 wins for Atlanta, 10 wins for New Orleans, and then Tampa and Carolina are the bottom feeders. I'll say both of those teams have 6 wins this year.
Okay. Josh, how about you?
I've got 10 for the Saints, 7 wins for the Falcons, 6 for the Bucks, and I got the Panthers running up the rear with 2 wins.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not that far off, bro. I'm a little crazy with the Saints, George, but I got them 13-4, bro.
My
Wow.
dog.
I got them top
100%. That's it.
Top record in the NFL. The New Orleans Saints love the schedule, like I mentioned. Falcons 9-8, like Jared does. I got the Bucks at 5-12. By the way, Bucks, I think come trade deadline could be a fire sale. They got a lot of aging vets.
Yeah.
Like a Chris Godwin, a Mike
Yes.
Evans.
Julio Jones.
You know, some of these.
Especially if
do
they
start
want to get
Julio.
Kyle Trask in there.
Yeah.
And they want to see what they have with him.
Full tank. Let's get rid of these older heads, big
I
contracts.
hate I hate Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Jets thing. I think that's where Demario Davis played under.
Why do you?
Yeah,
why
it
do you-
was.
Bro,
You're 100% right.
he's a
Well,
Jets fan.
offensive
What-
decision.
Hey.
The decision making.
Listen,
Yes.
Listen, that is Super Bowl champion Redskin Todd Bowles.
I mean,
first and
listen,
foremost.
I'm not
Before
knocking
you-
what he did in the past. We're
before you
analyzing
get out of
this
hand.
season.
He and Brady hated each other.
Yeah.
Hated each other.
It was
And I'll
toxic
never
last year.
understand that. Like, I can't understand. I don't
Because
I
Todd
don't know
Bowles.
how they only won. What they won 8 games last year.
Yeah.
I can't, and they won the division. What a weird season.
Bucks 5-12, and then Carolina 4-13.
Okay,
George, finish
fair.
up the NFC South for us.
NFC South 13-4 New Orleans Saints.
Wow.
Out of baby. Okay, number 2
It's
is going to
another
be
steak dinner there if they go 13 wins for you.
Oh,
you know
we're
what, dude?
stacking
Listen,
up
if
these.
they get 13 wins, I'll buy you a steak dinner because I got that 35-1, baby.
Same. I got them
You're
40 to
gonna owe
1
some
Super Bowl.
steaks. You're gonna owe some steaks at the
anyways,
end of this
Then we
episode.
got the Buccaneers coming in for the 2nd seed. I got them at 8-9. I think this is the shocker of like a really bad division.
Backstory, if I may. This guy has a boner for
Baker Mayfield. I do have a fucking
I see a little resemblance there, actually.
Thank you. All right, yeah. I mean, people have said it for
The
years.
mustache, right?
I watched him at the Rose Bowl when he played for Oklahoma.
a decade ago.
It was 2016.
Oh,
Grow up.
Nick, please,
He's good.
Nick,
So,
please clip that for
all
me.
those
that George
Mike
looks
Evans,
Baker
Julio Jones.
Mayfield. I'm done.
I can't believe it's taking you that long. But I don't need to prove that the Buccaneers will be that. They were They won the division last year, and I think they still have those pieces, and they got the feeling still inside of them. So they're going to take second. Then I got the Panthers coming in at 6-11, and then I got the Falcons just shitting the bed at 5-12.
Follow up.
Wow. You
And
have the
then
Falcons
If Baker
last.
Mayfield is starting quarterback for last year's Bucs team, how many games did they win? They won 8 last year with Tom Brady. How many did they win with Baker last year?
I think they
5.
win the
I would say half.
Yeah.
I would
win
say. I
5.
would say.
I would say
5
the
is-
same
is-
amount. The way they won their games, like it
No
wasn't like Brady
way,
was.
man.
It wasn't like Brady was fucking setting the world on
Well,
fire. He
the-
did
in-
just enough.
The fourth quarter, he did. He kind of like bailed them out of a lot of really tight spots late.
Do you
those
remember when
tight
Baker
games-
Mayfield on 48 hours notice went and beat the Raiders?
And then he got his butt kicked the next week.
Well, just because Sean McVay quit, he wasn't sure if he wanted to keep doing it.
That's
It
fair.
was- Whatever.
I would rather
love-
have
I
Sean
love what's
McVay as a
going on
head
here.
coach than Todd Bowles, though. I would.
Oh yes.
Defensive coordinator, fine, Todd Bowles, but offensive-minded head coach, Todd Bowles, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Jared, that's strike damn too.
I'm sorry.
Todd
Jared, I
Bowles.
want you to introduce the NFC West with your Matthew Stafford story for us.
Yeah. So the thing on Stafford, it was in one of the Rams blogs, put out a quote of his wife talking about his wife went on a podcast and
She has her own.
her own podcast.
She's recorded in the Blue Wire studio before.
Matthew
dope.
Stafford's wife.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Oh,
dope.
wow.
Didn't know that. Thank you for that. That frames it a lot better because clearly, if it's your podcast, you want to come with some pretty juicy
Yeah.
shit.
Yep.
And she basically said that
I got
like,
the
he's
quote.
really struggling with connecting with players in the locker room.
Oh.
And guys are calling him like sir, and it's like, no, we're on the same level here. Like you're the receiver, I'm the quarterback. Like you're this, like it, and it's just, I think there's a bit of a disconnect in the locker room right now between Stafford and the rest of his guys.
Well, he's listen. He's hitting that. I won't say the Brady age, obviously, because Brady was much older. But he's hitting that age now where you are the elder statesman.
100%.
1,000%. You and Sean McVay are daggone near the same age.
True.
Yes.
35.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that does kind of come with the territory. Brady worked through that, and it became kind of a part of his mystique.
That was more of a
But-
veteran team though with Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Much more veteran team.
I'm talking about still in New England. Like even because he talked about it, Brady was 40. He was 38, 39 years
Oh.
old. And, receivers would come in and it was like, yes, sir. And, I'm playing with the GOAT and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I can understand. I don't think that that's necessarily a disconnect in the locker room. He just has to figure out new ways to connect with his teammates.
Not what I'd want to be worried about though before the season starts.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Not what I'd want to be spending time doing with my receivers instead of learning the offense. Young guy, let's go practice the plays instead of playing Madden so I can get to know you better.
Let's go do a TikTok.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, what is
all
Matt
fair.
Stafford doing home, like bitching to his wife? Be a veteran quarterback and get their asses out there. Like
Be
it's
a
like,
man.
It's
be
just,
a man.
again,
Take the phone. Be a
I
man.
agree that it's not something I am like, they're going to suck now because
It's
of
so
that.
much fun though.
It's just when you go through the season, there are things that distract you. And that's a distraction to me. That's not something that
Yeah.
I want to be dealing with.
Reading it sounds like a fire podcast. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah,
like when I'm
you
reading
gotta
it,
let us
I'm
know the
like,
next time Mrs. Stafford comes in. I want to
Yeah.
listen.
I want to actually kick off with the Rams because, fellas, I don't want to throw anyone on the spot because we all are knee deep into NFL and we follow it often. And dude, outside of Aaron Donald, I can't name another defensive player. I was trying so hard to just like naturally be like, oh, who do you got on defense? The turnover that they've had from winning the Super Bowl just 2 years ago
Yep.
to now on both sides of the ball, it is wild. That also is what happens when you mortgage everything and you
Yep.
can't have any draft picks and you're paying all these guys. At one
Yes.
point last year, coming into the season, 6 players accounted for 70% of their cap.
They sold their soul for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
And now they're suffering the
All right,
consequences.
but
of it.
hold on though. I want to push back here. You're
Okay.
a Jets fan. You wouldn't?
Oh, I'm not saying I would do it, but it reminds me of when you're out at night, late night pizza. Oh man, this is the best thing ever. How do you feel about it the next day?
Yeah,
not,
miserable.
Not the same.
So much for that working out.
Not the same.
Yeah.
Acid
So
reflux.
while it's happening, of course, it's the best experience of my life. But there's always the day after.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
That's good.
No, but I'll hold him back to it. So wait a minute. So you would not, as a Jets fan.
Oh, I would do it for $1 million. I would do it. I would do it in a second.
Yeah, I just had to.
But then I would be realistic about, all right, we're going to suck for 5 years now because we sold our soul.
Yes. Now, would you be upset in those 5
No.
years? Oh, okay. Not
at all.
All right. I was just mad.
Right.
No, I wouldn't be upset at all. But I would be very pragmatic about it.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be like, why aren't we winning games? I would understand. But the stat is, so they drafted 14 players this year. That's the most that they've ever drafted in the McVay era. So, right, the night is always darkest before the dawn. They spent the least amount of money last year in both offense and defense. Now they're rebuilding.
Right.
But rebuilding in the NFL usually isn't a pretty sight.
I can see them doing it mid-year though. Like I can see if some of the things are going right and they've pulled out a couple of these like one-score games. I mean, their offense, that Stafford Cup connection is a real thing. And I think, you will be able to feel confident in some sort of offensive production. Cam Akers coming back. Like they have the materials on offense to at least make it.
I mean, dude, even
competitive.
the year they won the Super Bowl, their offense was,
all right.
Where's Cooper Kupp?
Yeah.
And then Odell came. That's why for the longest
Odell
time,
was the reason they won the Super Bowl.
I've been saying that from day one. It's like, yo,
They blow out the Bengals in that game if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. But
and he even said that.
But even getting there, like they don't get there if it's not for Odell.
Totally agree. What do you have? I think he had 3 games in like 3 or 4 games regular season, and then it was like sprint.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah, and what he did in the playoffs, how he opened up things for Cooper Kupp, and like, yo, let's not forget, we did this show where we were talking about the top 5 receivers in the league, and I had him at number 3, and I got some heat for that. I had a video kind of pop off, and they're like, oh, this kid's crazy. It's like, bro, before he got hurt, he was on pace to break his own season he had the year before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that connection is special, George, and I mean, you'd be crazy to argue against it, but like, man, this offensive line bad. Defensive line, you're going to need Aaron Donald to go back 5 years to have any sort of impact. A lot of turnover. He got paid, yeah. And, it's rare that you get all these draft picks to hit like how it did for Kansas City last year.
Yes.
Kansas City had all those dudes as rookies contributing in the Super Bowl, making plays.
Yes.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs last year had every single player they drafted record a box score stat in the Super Bowl.
That's why they're the champs.
Crazy.
Right. So like you're going to need some shit like that with the Rams to have all these draft picks.
It won't happen this year.
Yeah, and it won't. It won't. For me, this is a team that like 6 wins, I feel like is their ceiling.
That's their total.
Yeah.
6.5.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I mean, to your point, when you look at their defense, you take away Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, I mean,
huge.
Von Miller when he was there when they won. Like you said, there's been a tear down of their team, and we still have to learn who these new guys are. Now, can those new guys step up? Sure, it's possible, but at the same time, their division is. I won't say it's scary because the Cardinals have regressed.
Yeah.
So now I would say I would still put them ahead of the Cardinals.
2 playoff teams from that division last year, though.
And I think those 2 teams will. Obviously, I think the Niners. I think we can all agree the Niners are still the class of that division.
100%.
The Niners are winning this division by Halloween.
Yep.
Dang.
The Niners are absolutely winning this division, and Seattle's absolutely finishing second. And frankly, the other 2 teams are complete afterthoughts. And I don't.
Yeah.
The Rams are favored in 2 games all year.
Yeah.
So if they win 5. That's a good year for them.
Yes.
If they win 7,
they are overachieving.
And go over their win total, you give Sean McVay, the amazing props.
Yeah.
Because again, 14 drafted players. They have 3 rookies starting on their depth chart right now, 2 on the defensive line, 1 on the offensive line. You have a veteran quarterback who just admitted he doesn't even know half the guys in the locker room. Tough division. You play the Rams or you play the Seahawks twice and the Niners twice. I don't know. I don't see a higher win total than 6 for them. I think that's their ceiling.
6 with a record-setting season from Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford.
Well, they're going to be behind in a ton of games. So yeah,
they're going to get a lot of production from those 2. But you guys really don't think the Seahawks?
I am so
are like.
I think the Seahawks will be okay. I think if Walker comes back, and is doing nearly what he did last year, I think that they look like they will be okay. I don't know.
Can you elaborate what you mean by okay?
Well, I don't know if Bobby Wagner turns back the clock again this year.
I want him to retire.
And so that for me, if that starts to regress their defense a little bit, then that starts to chip away at what Gino was doing, at what DK is doing.
They got a new little toy. Smithing Jigba.
Well,
yes.
he's also hurt. He broke his
He's going to be
wrist.
up week 1.
Yeah, sorry, George.
Well, I mean,
that's who George drafted in the fantasy league.
Actually on my way in, I saw a note that he's going to be on the active roster week 1.
Nice. Just keep him out of the blocking scheme right there. But you got Tyler Lockett too. I mean, model of consistency. He may be the best fantasy wide receiver consistency wise for the last like 10 years. But yeah,
Bro, I've had Tyler Lockett many years. He's always like my wide receiver 3.
And he's going to get you 20
and then 6, 4, 2, 35, 7, 5, 4, 40.
I had my best ever hit with Tyler Lockett on a contract incentive prop that I bet 2 years ago. He needed 2 touchdowns for like a $500,000 incentive, and his 2 touchdown prop in the final game of the year was 16-1.
Holy
He scored the first 2 touchdowns of the game.
Jared, how good is incentive week?
You got to have me back on that week.
Before it really became a thing, like now it's like every network talks about it, but like 2016, 2017.
2 years ago was before last year I saw them everywhere. 2 years ago, they were still relatively, and then the Lockett one just was the best. That was the best day of my season. I
did a same game parlay when I was back in New York, all incentives.
Nice.
And it won like 11 for 11. I'll be through like $5, won like 2,200. My dad was flipping out.
There's some good incentives in some of these new contracts this year too.
Bro,
don't worry,
$5 won you 2,200.
Yeah.
Sign up for the Patreon. Make sure you sign up for the Patreon.
Yo, thank you, sir. Here's the thing about the Seahawks. They overachieved last year, correct?
Yes.
Will we all agree?
Gino played out of his skull.
Yeah.
You saw a little regression towards the end of the year, but he led the league in completion percentage.
Now, Jared, do you think he played out of his skull, or did he finally start to capture some of his what people thought he could be?
I think he was finally at peace with his surroundings.
Okay, all right.
Also, really good weapons around him too.
Fantastic weapons around him,
right.
And but that is part of it.
Yeah,
he had one of the most traumatic early parts of any career. He got punched out by his own player in his rookie season.
Yes, he did.
And then the Jets was a disaster. He didn't even get a chance. He got the fresh start, but had to stay in the same building and go to play for the Giants.
Yes.
So you get a fresh start and you get this reawakening with a new team, and you literally are in the exact same physical location that you were before.
And you also immediately are hated by the entire fan base because
Eli.
You broke the streak for
Even though
Eli.
that had nothing to do with him.
Yeah. I always felt bad for him there.
Of course, it wasn't his decision.
Yeah.
Then you go to Seattle and you back up Russell Wilson for now. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 years. You're in the same offense. You're comfortable. You're with a coach that is the most. I think Pete Carroll's the most players coach in the league.
Yeah,
like he is the players coach.
Players coach, and then also still control a locker room.
He is arguably one of the most, other than Tomlin, the steadiest force in any building.
Yeah.
And then you get the glow up. And then you get your chance because they trade Russ. And you beat out Locke. And they wasn't even supposed to beat out Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And then you get your chance and you are at peace with everything. You have been through so much bullshit. And then eventually you get your shot and you succeed. That's why he did what he did.
The city's in love with him.
Here's the thing, though, too.
In love with him.
Skill position players across the board, fantastic. Especially if you're looking at like wide receiver trios with this kid coming out of Ohio State, which is wide receiver right? Like every wide receiver that comes out of there is a baller.
It has been starting to look like
the reigning offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson.
They kind of limped into the playoffs last year too, because when you really look at it, they beat the Rams twice, and then they beat the Jets. Mike White was the quarterback, and then it was Wolford, and Baker Mayfield. Sorry,
I'm not overly high on their win total because I think again they get moved up because of their success last year. But the one stat that I loved from them, they had the most snaps last year of any rookie class.
Yes, their rookie class did contribute.
Both tackles.
Yeah.
Lucas and Cross, and 2 studs in the secondary.
Yeah.
That is the future. Controllable, cheap, you can build around it, and then you bring in Jigba in. And even to
And
your
even
point about
Witherspoon,
Kenneth
the
Walker,
other corner. Now they got another rookie corner.
stud.
Who, by the way,
Studs.
I didn't mention before with your team, Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes looked really good.
We
the
saw
other night.
Sauce Gardner,
Yeah.
Patrick Surtain a couple
Yeah.
years ago. The Giants with Banks.
Yeah.
Lately, there have been corners that come into the league and immediately are like all pros.
Yep.
Yes.
So that can, I know we're going back a little bit, but like that can help Washington a lot. This
For
could
sure.
also help Seattle if
I
all
think
of a
Seattle's
sudden.
a playoff team. I honestly think they're
Yes.
going to compete for the playoffs.
I think they're right there for sure.
But I think 9-10 wins is kind of the ceiling because
Yeah.
they play in a tough division. They've got 2 against the Niners. And I think it's fair to expect some regression with Geno. He was top 3 in completion percentage last year and all the analytics. He also led the league in turnover worthy plays. So that's a concern. He's right there. Him and Josh Allen are like, fumbleitis and interception
Yep.
city.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to like on the Seattle roster. That's for sure.
Their season's going to come down to Thanksgiving because they play the Niners, go to Dallas, and then go back to San Fran.
It's tough.
So it's one of
That's
those
a
weird
mean
spots where you play the same team
2 out of
twice
3
in
weeks.
In the
3
same
weeks.
Yeah, that's.
I feel like we did that last year, Washington and the Giants, right?
Because remember, we played you, and then we had our bye,
And then you
and
played
then
the
we
Giants.
came out and played you again. Like
Yeah.
we played you back-to-back games for us.
And we also tied like losers.
I don't want to talk about
Wow.
that. I was there. I witnessed it. I was not happy. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about the second game where there was clearly PIs. In the
Oh
end zone.
yeah. That was good. I've talked about that many times. Fellas, I gotta be honest. I don't want to talk about Arizona. Does anyone have anything to say about
Under
Arizona?
4.5 wins.
Yeah.
That's
Josh?
it. That's all you need to say. Josh
fair.
Dobbs is our starting quarterback week 1. That's all you need to know.
James Conner, breakout. Just like
Well, breakout. They're gonna be down 30-0 at halftime
It
of
can't
games.
break out if we're not
break
running
out.
the ball anymore. Like we're actually in
mean,
Worst
trouble.
team in the NFL this year.
Yeah, they're
what
look at the schedule coming out, and this
is it
all
Steichen that's
Yo,
their
listen,
head coach?
Yeah.
this all might
Arizona,
be this
DC.
all is probably going to be without Kyler Murray too.
Yep.
At Washington, home Giants, home Cowboys, at the Niners, home Bengals, at Rams, at Seahawks, home Ravens, at Browns. You're looking at this like, dude, your season's going to be basically over.
Done.
You know what I mean?
Under 4.5 wins. Bet it right now because it's only going to go down.
I don't have anything nice to say about them. I do want to spend time though on the Niners because I did say the Saints are my 1 seed. I think the Niners are going to definitely be in contention for sure. I have the Niners at 13-4.
Yeah.
My question to you, George, is how much longer are we keeping this window open for the Niners? Because I feel like, man, they've been like,
I mean,
Right
yeah, the windows,
there, bro.
the windows just in a steady state of being open. They obviously, in my opinion, did not take care of the quarterback situation the way I thought they would. I think they're fully bought in on Brock Purdy, but what I've heard is like that injury definitely takes some like getting used to, especially after surgery. But they're fully bought into him. Their defense needs no replacing. They're right on track to be the best or one of the best defenses in the league. And you got a lot of offensive power with Christian McCaffrey. I think he has the possibility of getting like 2,500 all-purpose yards, and being in MVP contention. Now, the window closes with this year. I think if it doesn't happen this year, I think that you're going to start to see a lot of players find different homes, and it'll be a shame because I don't think any team has had a window like this. We're talking like what, 6 years?
for a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl, like, man, you're talking about NFC title game, a Super Bowl. Like they've been right there, man, for so
Reminds
long.
me of the Bills back in the early 90s.
Yep.
I mean, they're favored in 15 games this year.
Yeah.
They're going to go over their win total. They're going to win the division. I don't know what the success in the postseason is going to be, but I think Brock Purdy playing in the NFC Championship game last year would have obviously changed a lot of things. I don't know what that game would have looked like if he played the whole game. I think they're a team that can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think they're in. The list is very short in the NFC. They are definitely on the list.
Do you think it's Brock Purdy or do you think it's
Yeah.
Sam Darnold? Because
I
I think
think
it's
it's Brock Purdy. I think it's Brock Purdy.
okay.
And I think the whole 7th round thing is completely irrelevant, pun intended.
Mm.
It doesn't matter where you find the quarterback. It does not matter if he's on if he's Kurt Warner bagging groceries. Doesn't matter. Some guys are just special. Right now, the evidence says he's special.
Yeah.
We'll see if a full season changes our idea of that. But for week 1, he's the guy.
He's got a special pot of ingredients.
Well,
I don't
100%.
think it doesn't get any better than that.
He looked fine in preseason.
The reason why I ask how long do they have as a window is because of Brock Purdy. Because now he's probably making less than the punter makes. And
Probably pretty close.
they have a lot of guys that are going to be up for new contracts. And I think this window's only going to stay open. I was not setting up that question to have it be like, like a trap con. I think this window's only going to extend if they're going to be going with Purdy, which seems like they are, right? Like they already gave up on Trey Lance, which by
That
the way,
is the move.
I love that because you no longer have to deal with what's going to happen with Trey Lance. It's like, you know what, man, we're taking the L. Good organizations do
They
that.
definitely took the L.
Massive L. Like, dude, imagine if they took Parsons. They didn't trade out and they took Parsons. My buddy Ryan, who I do jujitsu with, he's a Niners fan. He's like, yo, imagine they had Parsons with Bosa. That team would be insane.
Still pretty good even without him.
Yeah, that's why it's so crazy with that organization, like how they've been able to do this. And I think across the board, they have, and I was talking about it last year when they got Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy is set up to have so much success because, Jared, I don't think there's a team that I can recall in the NFL in the years I've been watching that has a more versatile offense than what the Niners have now.
Kyle Shanahan's very good.
Yeah. But they also got they got studs.
Yeah.
Ayuk.
We haven't even mentioned Debo or Ayuk.
Yeah. Ayuk,
And like,
Samuel,
to me,
George
those
Kittle.
Elijah Mitchell and McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And also just think about all the crazy shit they could do with Samuel and McCaffrey. Out wide as
Yes.
X and Y wide receivers. And in the backfield too, you're like, where do you game plan for?
I just had to say, you boys are tanks because I had to piss for about 40 minutes. I finally
I'm
could.
close.
I couldn't hold on any longer. I was
It's because
like,
you drank
I
the whole
gotta
beer.
go.
I took 2 sips like
Yeah,
a lightweight.
I drank the whole
You
thing.
gotta-
I
you
had
gotta-
to get up.
This
Yeah,
thing's
it's
too
true.
heavy, man. I'm on a diet.
I had to get up. I was like, I can't. We gonna have an accident in here.
They're one of the teams, right? I think the stat, Jared, was of the last 10 Super Bowl winners, 9 of them have been one of the top 5 favorites. So it's like Cincinnati, Buffalo, Eagles, Niners, and the Chiefs. So, 90%.
It's
The
pretty
Chiefs are
predictable
comfortable
from the
I
beginning.
would say those 5. I would say I'll take those 5. You take the field. I feel pretty good about myself.
And,
Yes.
and look, man, not to bury the lead, you'll be hearing about the Niners a little bit later when we give out our NFC title winners and all that. So I got
you got
them.
them that high, huh?
I got them also at 13-4, and I think they're going to be
Sounds about right.
top seed, potentially
Yep.
2 seed. Josh, how about you? How you got this division playing out?
Well, obviously, we talked about both the Niners and the Seahawks being the class of the division. I don't know if
No. I need to push back. I think it's the class of the division is San Fran. And then
and then the Seahawks. Obviously, I'm not saying they're up there
okay.
with them.
I just wanted to,
This isn't 3 years ago.
you're
when
walking off
Russell-
set mid-break to go take a piss. I got to make sure that we got your back.
I'm not coming back and losing my mind. No. I think the Seahawks get to 10 wins. I think the Niners probably get to 12 to 13. But then after that, the Rams probably 6, maybe 7 wins. And then the Cardinals, depending. I mean, it really just depends on what their first. You saw that they officially did not activate Kyler Murray to the active roster, so he's off for the first 4 weeks. So what do those first 4 weeks look like for them? If they come out 0-4, I don't see them getting more than 4 to 5 wins.
I'll be honest with you. The only win I think they can maybe sneak out would be against you guys.
Week 1.
The disrespect.
It's big. You guys' Super Bowl is week 1. How does
That's
that
all
feel?
right.
Yo,
That's a big game.
Here's
all right.
Here's the thing. Until proven otherwise, I'm definitely not taking Washington minus 6.5. I'm not saying I'm going to take Arizona, but
But you're gonna keep
I'm
your
not
money
gonna-
to yourself.
After the Josh Dobbs
That's
news
like
today,
a-
that's going to be 7.5 pretty soon.
yeah,
probably.
I'm not going to lay points with basically a rookie starting.
Listen.
That's a teasable game once it gets to 7.5.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
I'll go from 7.
And you know what? If you're doing eliminator pools, you're probably not going to take Washington the rest of the year.
in my alternative, I will.
Huh.
Yeah.
I have 3 Survivor entries. I'm gonna do 1 Washington.
Yeah.
That's not a bad way to
I
start.
think I'll go
start it.
Baltimore, Minnesota, Washington.
Okay.
Minnesota's got Tampa and
I want to do
Baltimore.
that this year. It's always seemed so cool.
I've never done it.
Same.
And that would be fun.
I got one on Patreon, bro.
Oh,
Get in there.
means I gotta pay you now for pay. I'm
No,
paying.
I'll give you a homie discount for that one. I'll give everyone a
There's
free
coupon
entry.
code.
I'll give you everyone a free
Coupon
entry.
code.
The more
All right.
money you put in, the more money you win.
I got Niners 13-4. I'm sorry, I don't see it with Seattle. I got them at 7-10. Rams 6-11. Cardinals 1-16.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I think I'm kind of aligned with you. I would say maybe I'm 1 win lower on San Francisco. I would say I'm between 11 and 12. That's where the number is. I think I'm at 9 and 8 on Seattle. And I think the other 2 teams, I think LA is probably 5-6 wins. I think Arizona's.
Josh, how
Or
about
is
you?
I got
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I already
Yeah.
went.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Seahawks 12-5 win the division for me. And if I'm gonna be like, let me just toss out like a random here. They may go 11-4-1, and their one tie would be against the 49ers. Like I'm gonna throw that out into the ether here that's going to happen. The 49ers would then go 10-5-1. Then the Rams would go 6-11, and the Cardinals 2-15. I don't know who they're going to sneak the 2 out of. Definitely going to wipe the floor with the Commanders week 1. I just don't see it.
I am.
You think the Cards are gonna
No,
blow
I'm
us
fucking with
out?
you, dude.
Jesus,
But I don't know. Maybe you're not confident.
Jesus.
Uh,
I'm confident in that we will be ourselves, and so
Washington by 6.
That hook's gonna get you. That hook gets you. That hook gets you.
Ease it down, baby.
Question: is that a Lions hat?
Yes.
Yeah. Are we
Honolulu
there?
blue.
Are we there? I am my Honolulu blue today. Let's get this going for this.
Is that actually what it's called? It's
Yep.
called Honolulu,
Honolulu
Blue?
Blue.
He said that earlier, and I thought he was playing.
Nah, dog.
He's like,
I'll
oh, George is a funny guy.
Why wouldn't they call that Troy Blue or something? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question. Gotta
Yo.
ask the people in Honolulu, I
that's
guess.
Yeah.
weird.
I have. I think my strongest take on the podcast is
Yes, we talked about this division last time I was here,
and it's only been validated even more. I am going with the Green Bay Packers to go 12-5. I am buying in on Jordan Love. I know he's looked great in the preseason. The thing with me is they have the youngest wide receiver room in the entire NFL by like a lot. I think the average age is like 23.8.
sure.
And then the next is like 27. So like they got a really young room. They no longer have the pressure of Aaron Rodgers for you to make sure you catch everything, which you should as a receiver.
But I'm not gonna chew you out every time you make a
Right,
mistake.
right.
Yeah.
You're not like shaking every time your number is called. You're like, all right, man, if I drop a pass, like, shit happens. They have a shutdown corner, which I think is something that like, as football is changing, more passing, we all know this, like having an elite corner that can shut you down. And he was talking shit to Justin Jefferson after week 1 last year. Justin Jefferson went like 8 for 190 and 2 touchdowns. And he was like, yo, it wasn't on me. And then when they played the second time, he followed him everywhere in the slot. One of the rare guys that like actually travels,
Yeah.
shut him down. I think he had like 2 catches, did the gritty on him too.
Yeah.
So
Jair
have that.
Alexander, stand up.
the Packers have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. They're really good on defense. I like LaFleur.
Really good on defense?
Yeah. Dude, they've invested a lot on one of the reasons why Rodgers was pissed, because every year they're spending a first-round pick on the defensive side of the ball.
That's fair.
Here's the thing and I think Jordan Love might be the biggest X factor in the NFC.
Agreed.
He led college football when he played in interceptions. He is a gunslinger. That's why the range of outcomes are not Sam Howell. I think like he's more established than Sam Howell.
Yes.
But I like that now there's kind of no pressure on them. It's like, you're turning the keys over to Jordan Love. Man, he's a gunslinger. I like that. He's going to throw picks, but I'd rather my guy try to, pick up a 3rd and 9 and not check it down to a running back 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Watson, Dobbs, the
There is
two-headed
pressure.
monster.
There is definite pressure on Jordan Love. I mean, that that franchise has had nothing but stout quarterbacks.
Yeah, for like 30 years.
Minus whatever his name
40.
was. Brett
40 years, right?
Brett Hundley or Brad Hundley or whatever his name was.
But he didn't even start though for that.
He did start a couple of games,
But I'm
but
saying,
based on injury,
But the plan wasn't, they didn't draft him to play.
Yeah.
correct.
Right,
but now he's got a lot of pressure on him.
Matt Flynn.
I would argue that every quarterback in the league has a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, but Green Bay especially. I mean, he's playing in front of his owners.
Yeah, but you don't think, Jared,
Tens
that,
and thousands of owners.
but you don't think though, Jared, that like some guys just have a longer leash?
I don't think there's anyone behind Green Bay's or in the depth chart that's going to take. I think this is Love's
Oh, no,
team.
no. Oh, so you're talking about
Oh,
Green
yeah.
Bay.
Just
Oh,
Green
okay,
Bay.
okay.
Yeah.
I was talking about in general quarterbacks because I thought you meant like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL,
You're
it
going to
is-
have pressure, yeah.
It is the hardest position in the hardest sport to win in long term.
He
Massive pressure.
But to your point, he does have. I think what is this his? This will be his 4th year. So
Fourth
this
year.
would be the year
Yes.
that would get him his 5th
He
year.
also
option.
has one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
He has Elton Jenkins,
yes.
who could play any position on the line except center.
Yep.
Zach
Dave
Tom at right tackle and
Bakhtiari.
Bakhtiari on the other side.
Mhm.
Josh
and-
Myers at center.
I think Green Bay might have the. I think they have a chance to have the best record in the NFC, but definitely over their win total. 7.5 is just a stone cold bet.
I wanna stay with Green Bay a little bit, just a little bit, fellas.
Mhm.
Just bear with me. What I said before about Washington. If I'm looking at the landscape of the NFC, I need you to be good on both sides of the trenches. They are.
Yes.
I need you to have a shutdown corner, which you have. And also, they open up the season 2 straight road games, but all 5 games to start, they're playing bottom 8 defenses.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going out there.
And then he gets an early bye.
Gets an early bye.
Chill.
And he's not going out there playing the 2000 Ravens or like, he's not playing San Fran
Or the
week
Ravens
one,
this year.
or the Ravens this year. He's not
Yeah.
playing for like, he's getting some really good matchups, man. And, one of the futures that I made, 55-1, them to win the Super Bowl.
Love it.
They win the division. They're going to get a home game. I know they haven't
Lambeau
been
in the
exactly, they've had some bad losses in Lambeau.
But maybe that's just randomness.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just Rodgers.
Yeah,
It could be that. I'll give you another name, too, to keep an eye on, Devontae Wyatt. I mean, you remember that kid from Georgia.
Yeah.
Really, from what I've read, is now, that's the one thing they couldn't do last year, stop the run. They were 31st in run stop win rate. Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark now healthy.
Yes.
And Rashawn Gary back from the PUP. From everything I'm reading, Devontae Wyatt, you want to talk about the Georgia studs, he might be better than all of them. And we didn't really read a lot about him last year because he was kind of inconsistent. But I'm hearing that he's more consistent now. And so that front wall on both sides, offense, defensive line, might be the best in football.
And their schedule, they play the Chiefs and the Chargers, both games at home. They play the Chiefs in what some call a trap game. I call it the sandwich spot.
Okay.
They play the Raiders, Packers, Bills. Maybe you're looking past a little Green Bay. You're like, we got
Yeah.
Buffalo. This might be for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Telling you now, early on, the Packers like a 5-6 point underdog at home, baby. We're taking
I like
the
LaFleur
Packers
too, by the way, to your point.
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. I haven't
This
even
was a
mentioned
guy that
that.
had 13 wins his first 3 seasons in the league. And I know he had Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, but you still got to be pretty polished to put a team in position to do that.
I think this is a year for him. If they do win 12 games, he's the coach of the year.
I think, and look, I've said this before, Jordan Love was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has then turned into Brett Favre, just in terms of the lineage. To George's point, the Packers have gone from glory to glory. They've had franchise quarterback all-timer to a franchise quarterback all-timer. Both quarterbacks were able to sit.
Yes,
I think
there.
I think, Jordan Love having that ability to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a time, that's going to be the biggest thing. When you go back and look at Aaron Rodgers' first year when Brett went to the Jets, his Jets, Aaron Rodgers went 6-10. I think they eclipsed that number simply because the division overall is weakened. This division, when we talked about it last week, it's a lot of influx. There's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. Also, Jordan Love being a big question.
Yes.
So I'm not downgrading that. I'm just taking the stance, and I believe that
13 though is
Jordan Love. No, I got him at 12-5.
I think that's a fair record. I
12
think
and
that's
5.
what I would have Matt
Also,
too.
you need to factor in that he wears number 10, and when you wear number 10, you're real as shit.
shit,
That's
true.
my favorite
that's
number.
my number as well.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Take
you know,
that for a handicap, Jared. 10
I
mode,
like it.
baby.
I think. I mean, for me, I think they get to 8 to 9, but getting past that point, because look, like I've said before, I think Jordan Love is going to be the reason they win a couple games, but I also think he's going to be the reason they lose a couple games.
Gunslinger.
And for that reason, jumping out, I can't. You know, I feel like they have a good enough team where the quarterback notwithstanding, they're going to win 6 games. So now, does he get you 3 to 4 more wins on his own? That's where it starts to get a little bit dicey.
And
for
you know,
me.
the other thing, man, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, Josh. The question marks on all the other teams in this division and the concerns, I should say. Like, bro, listen, I can't get behind the
You
I
just
just-
can't.
I
You
just can't
you
get
won't
behind.
allow yourself to
I
do it.
won't allow. I can't.
What
bro.
is it?
Listen, I have a
I
friend.
think they're
Detroit.
weak. Like, you guys are making this division seem like it's fucking trash.
No, it's not trash.
how the hell are
but,
the Packers going to get 12 wins? Like
bro,
this
the Lions. This is the first time in 35 years that they've sold out season tickets. Like, there's a lot of expectation. I also have one friend who is the ultimate jinx, and he's all in on the Lions. So there's a little bit of that.
Okay.
And that to me, that matters more than
That
anything.
matters more than a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? No, but yo, look, seriously with the Lions, because I know you're on the Lions. I know both of you guys are on the Lions. To defend them, if you are pro Lions,
Mhm.
schedule is favorable. They have one outdoor cold game, especially for Jared Goff, who I'll never forget playing him in a fantasy football playoff game when they went into Chicago and he couldn't grip the football.
You don't like the cold.
He don't like the cold, right?
Nope.
Us
He's a Cali
Jareds
boy.
are weenies.
They need the young guys to take a massive step up. And under Campbell, they come out the gates slow.
Yes. That has been their issue.
4-12-1 on the road under Dan Campbell. And this year, their road schedule, Dallas, Saints, Ravens, Chargers, Chiefs, Saints again. Sorry, Saints and Vikings.
That's their road schedule.
That's their road schedule.
Tough
And then
road.
obviously in division, you know, that's why. And,
just
and yo, also
think-
just like mentally, everyone's on the Lions. And it's like, I don't know, bro.
It's a
I'm not-
contrarian take. I think they're going to be a good team, but again, I think that the market has overshot its load on the
when
Lions.
we were golfing, who did you compare them to?
The Falcons?
Oh, it was the Browns, the Baker Browns.
Oh yeah, the preseason hype.
The preseason hype, yeah.
with
I
Baker Browns.
never like buying into teams with preseason hype. I actually think if you really want the reason why this division is trash, it's the two teams we haven't talked about yet: the
Mm.
Bears and the Vikings.
I want to give you the
will
floor
get
to
there.
talk
Yeah,
about
we
the
will.
Lions because I don't want to
I
just.
think the Lions
No,
are
the
going to
Lions
be
are-
8, 9, 10 wins, somewhere in that range. I do think there's talent, but I think the market's moved up a little too high.
I think they're the 12-win team that you think the Packers are. I think they're extremely loaded. Although they lost Jamal Williams at running back, I think Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama
Yes.
is that guy.
Offensive
And he-
rookie of the year type guy.
Yes, 100%. And I'm pretty sure we'll touch on him a little bit
Yep.
more. But getting Marvin Jones Jr. and Amon-Ra St. Brown going with a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl. Not to mention we phase in, all right, Aiden Hutchinson on year 3, or is this
No,
year 2?
This is year 2.
Year 2 for my man Aiden. He had an all right year last year, but we got CJ Gardner-Johnson back there. It's I mean the team.
Hutchinson wild out on my Commanders.
I like what they did in the secondary.
Yes.
They made a couple of really nice additions there. Aaron Glenn as defensive coordinator. I have a lot of memories of him getting absolutely roasted during his time playing cornerback for the Jets.
Yeah.
They ran the most man coverage of any team in the NFL last year. They are a tight man-to-man, in-your-face, bump and run kind of team. And they did not have the personnel to run that kind of defense. And they got roasted.
Yep.
Now they have a little bit more of the personnel to match that
Yeah.
style.
And that's the thing for me. It's like, okay, they needed to prove last year that their offense can put up the points. I mean, when they were winning games,
They
like
can.
you're talking like the overs were hitting regularly on Lions games because they would give up 35 in the first half and then they'd be having to fight back. And that team, I needed to see them do that because that's always been the Lions' main gripe has always been build the lead. And then it's like, all right, well, the Lions are going to do what the Lions do now. And then they give it up. So now I think the reason why they've resold out all those tickets again is because that city needs winners. Okay. You have Detroit, and even that guy out there is understanding what I'm saying. Detroit needs winners. And
Can they hear us?
They can hear us.
Hi.
They've taken a long time to get to this moment in time, and I think there's no better coach-player relationship than what Dan Campbell does for those boys. I mean, he cries bi-weekly. I mean, what other coach cries bi-weekly?
I like that take, and I also love Ben Johnson. The fact that he got offers to be a head coach and said, I want to stay.
That's big.
That's good culture right there.
Yes.
That's foolish. One of the
And
two.
that's why I'm not bearish on the Lions as a season-long team to be.
Ooh, that was
but-
a bad pun.
But their number's too high. I can't bet them over.
Mm.
And what's their number right now?
9.5. It's too high. I can't bet on them to be a 10-win team. I can't bet on them as the favorite to win a division they haven't won in almost 30 years.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Doesn't sit right. It's not a plus EV wager.
Yeah. And also look, and I want to mention how I was big on Chicago like 3 months ago. I was big on Chicago before they got DJ Moore.
Yes.
And now that's gotten ridiculous too.
Yeah.
Where Justin
Chicago.
Justin Fields is grouped with like Justin Herbert and Trevor
He's
Lawrence.
being
or-
talked about to win the MVP.
Yeah.
Can we
That-
chill?
That doesn't sit right with me. But Josh, I want to give the floor to you because I know you're pro Lions.
Yes.
Tell us why you
Yes.
like the Lions.
See, I mean, listen, I said this on the show before. If not now, when? And if this isn't the year for them, because, you know, we talked about this earlier today, George, the runway is perfectly set up for them to do this. You know, the rest of the, you know, to George's point again, Jared Goff is the only Super Bowl quarterback. You can say whatever you want about Jared Goff. He's won multiple playoff games to get to a Super Bowl. No other quarterback in their division can lay claim to that. Jared Goff also second half of the season last year was top 5 quarterback in the league. That's also undebatable. Now, the loss of Jameson Williams, we talked about that earlier as far as the gambling stuff.
One of us.
I think he's one of you, and being one of you has now ruined parts of the Lions season. I think that aspect is the thing that I think pulls a couple wins back from them, because now getting him back week 7, you know, getting him up to speed, all of those kind of things, getting him targets when he may or may not really deserve them, that kind of stuff. We'll see how that works. But I look, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is going to play well. I didn't like them losing their guy, Williams, right?
Yeah,
Williams?
James. Yeah, Anime Man.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Anime Man. Pikachu is what you could refer to him as.
Or what was the, it was the anime, it was the, he was the.
Naruto?
Shoot, I forget what he said. But anyway, losing him for a bag of chips because the Saints paid him nothing, I thought that was poor form. That wasn't, he was someone that believed in the Lions way.
And that's the thing. I'm glad that you bring that up, because I feel like he meant more to them from a culture and team building standpoint.
Yes.
We're like, yo, look, I think running backs are expendable, right? Like, I like what the Giants did with Saquon Barkley. I like what the Raiders did with Jacobs. Like, cool, pay them, sure, nothing long term.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jamal Williams was more of a culture. Like, he went viral for that
Led the league
speech.
in touchdowns last year.
He not only led the league in touchdowns, but broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's another game, but even still, broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record. So you let someone like that walk for nothing? That, to me, just...
And they lost Swift too, man.
Yeah, well, they let
I know
Swift,
injuries.
they
Montgomery
traded him.
and Gibbs are going to fill those voids.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Lions season is going to come down to Jameson Williams 6-game suspension and Jamal Williams being out. I think it's going to be, does the defense take a step forward?
Mhm.
Can they stop someone in a key spot?
Consistently. Yeah.
And is Jared Goff going to continue to play above expectation? If those two things happen, the Lions will probably be in the playoffs this year.
Agreed.
To me, those are really the only two things that I think are really going to factor into their team success. Jamal, running backs are a dime.
Yeah.
I am
dozen.
excited to see their middle linebacker draft pick that they picked up this year.
Kid from Iowa?
Yeah. I think that you know, back to your point as far as the defense, if he can shore up that middle of the field, they could be all right.
I'm sure he will.
Jack Campbell.
But I'm also sure that Travis Kelce's going to score 5 touchdowns in that first game. Chiefs over team total 31.5 week 1 might be the best bet of the year. They averaged
Wow.
35 points per game in the last 7 home season openers under
Fair.
Andy Reid. So, and like a big concern that I have for the Lions, Jared, is I don't think they could stop anyone.
And that's, I'll be honest, I think even more, I have no doubt that Jared Goff and Ben Johnson are going to be fine.
Yeah.
They have one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the offense at all. I think their offense is going to be exciting. I think Jahmyr Gibbs they're going to put him in places that we don't think and we don't know. And then there he is. Boom, he's gone. But it's all Aaron Glenn. It's all the scheme. It's all the additions they made in the secondary. And can they become, and that's why they went out and signed a big time safety.
Yeah.
Who thankfully wasn't seriously injured. He did get hurt in that first game, in that
Yes.
first week, but then he's back. And then there's a couple of other defensive pieces in the secondary that I really liked. And if that secondary plays better, they've got a chance to win the division.
Yeah.
But if not, they're going to get toasted up by Love and Cousins and anybody.
Yeah, they got Jefferson.
Losing Jeff Okudah was like, why?
Nothing.
But
nothing.
still young,
Nah.
still young.
It's nothing.
Sure, but
Still young and he started to get it together. You know what I mean? The second half of that season as
They
well.
dumped him
started
like
to play well.
like a sack of
Yeah,
potatoes.
they was like, we're good. And it was
Yeah.
like, he was
They
a
gave
first
him
round
up for
pick.
less than what Isaiah Simmons got back.
yeah. But we were talking about it before when you skipped out about Trey Lance. How like I love that they got rid of him and they just took the L.
Yeah,
like yo,
let's take
instead
the L.
of forcing it and trying to make something, it's like, hey man, we fucked up. Like it happens. Good organizations move on from that, and that's what they did. And I think, look, Okudah, he like blew out his Achilles or his ACL early on, and then he got hurt again. So it was something where they just kind of cut ties with a guy that they were high on, and it just didn't work out. It happens.
Cam
And
Sutton's the guy I'm thinking of, by the way, from Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So you take Okudah out, you put Sutton in, you get Gardner Johnson to go play safety, and the other corner, Jerry Jacobs, I don't know much
Yep.
about, but they're going to be better, I think, in the secondary this year.
And
if they are,
Anzalone, strong middle linebacker.
I mean, they've got dudes up front. Hutchinson looked great last year.
Hutchinson looked really good.
where do you have Minnesota?
I have Minnesota coming in second, and I know their record in one-score games last year definitely wouldn't lead to replicating it this year, but I do think they, just based on offensive talent alone, have got 10 wins in them. And that quarterback documentary made me a Kirk Cousins at least
Stan.
not a believer, but like, okay, let me stop like second guessing myself on Sunday morning when I'm about to place a bet. You know what I mean? Like he's solid. He's going to put their team in position to win a lot of games.
Yeah, if the game kicks off at 10 a.m. Pacific time, because isn't he like 71% against the spread in those?
It's so crazy. Like the eye test with him, can't believe those lion eyes, like that Eagles song.
You
Like the
don't-
numbers are great, but everyone just hates on him. He's like
Yeah.
a walking meme.
Listen.
4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, like
Listen.
I think every year.
And the best receiver in the league next
Yeah.
to him.
Listen.
And they drafted Jordan Addison.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm
And
like,
they have
holy
TJ Hawkinson,
shit.
who's like the best receiving tight end in the league besides
Again.
Kelsey.
As the resident Redskins fan here, I had to witness this man go 80 yards and kick field goals over and over and over again with 3 Pro Bowl receivers. He just all right. He ain't got it in him. Captain Kirk ain't got it in him.
I think their offensive line is why they're going to struggle this
and their defense.
year. They brought in Brian Flores.
Sure, but
Who-
the talent on the
It's
D
not.
is
It's not good.
right.
I think Donatel last year was the worst. Was like Alex Grinch level USC defensive coordinator bad, and he still has his job. And Flores, I think, will do a better job scheming. But you're right. The personnel's not good.
Yeah, no, they're replacing. I mean, Harrison Smith's still there, but I think they got Byron Murphy Jr. I wasn't sure if he came in last season or over.
I can't
The
remember.
off
Still, they're
season.
just like, yeah, Flores is a great
They have
addition.
Hunter. Hunter's that. I mean,
Daniel
being like
Hunter,
their piece in the middle.
Let's just leave it at this. I'm more bullish on their defense than I was last year.
Sure.
But their offensive line is a concern. And the one thing I noticed in that documentary that I watched every minute of it, he had a lot of moments last year where he's like, man, I'm hurt. I'm-
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
He really was whining about
That-
that.
Dalvin Cook.
that's
Nobody's
fair.
saying
They're not winning 13
No,
games. this
nobody's saying anything with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook leaving and not truly replacing that.
No. Madison is
That guy?
year. Dalvin
Dude.
Cook had replacement level numbers in the yards after contact stat.
anytime Dalvin Cook would sit out playing daily fantasy when I was back in New York, Alexander Madison was an
They'll be
auto play.
fine with him. I just don't like when I look at teams, to me, the running back is not something that,
Yeah,
that
he's-
really indicates wins or losses.
But also like we've seen him because Dalvin Cook has been so injury prone. We've seen him as a starter and like
lot.
north of 20 carries. And bro, I'm telling you, he's productive.
The
Like,
offensive line will
yeah.
be and Brian Flores' impact on the defense. Same thing with Detroit.
Mhm.
If those two teams have had such issues defensively the last 2 years.
Brian Flores
You
is
have
the
to
coach
improve.
there now?
Defensive
He's the
coordinator.
he's the
Vikings.
DC?
Yeah.
DC,
I
yeah.
did not realize he came in. Okay, now that does change it a little bit.
I don't know how much of an impact he'll have, but like I said before, I think I'm more bullish
Mm.
on
Because of
their
it now?
ability to play better defensively because I think they will be better coached.
Right.
But the personnel is still not
The personnel,
elite.
yeah. I agree with you, but I think it's the personnel that's like,
I agree. That's why I
Yeah.
think, to me, 13 wins last year. Their win total is 8.5 this year. 8 to 9 wins seems fair for them. I think that's a well set line.
Josh, we haven't talked about Chicago.
Yeah.
How come?
Well,
Talk to me about Chicago.
listen, Chicago is this division definitely has the most to it. The most questions.
If you look at the odds,
Yeah.
it's the tightest division.
Yep.
Yes.
From favorite to what they're expecting to be the fourth place team,
Yeah.
it's the tightest. The odds I'm looking at plus 145 for
I don't think there should be a favorite to win this division, Frank. That's why I can't buy the Lions as a favorite.
Yeah.
and that's and listen. As much as I'm on the Lions, that's fair. It's a fair assessment because the Lions have never done it. That's why I'm saying, like, listen, the Lions are used to being the hunter. They've never been the hunted. So
That's a good take.
we don't
Yep.
know exactly how they're going to respond to that pressure. And like I said, losing a first round pick who actually did start to look scary at the end of last season, Jameson Williams, that's a bigger deal. And he needs to just continue to be a pro. He has to learn what being a pro looks like. Was coming off of injury last year. Now this year he's missing half the season. Like, that kind of stuff, it does add up. But the Bears, for me, I think they take a step. I don't think they start running because, like, some of these lines and some of the things that you guys have said today, it seems like people think they're going to start running, and I don't think they're there yet. Their defense, to me, is not good.
Oh, they just got one of the best defense players over the offseason. Tremaine
did.
Edmonds is a
Tremaine
fucking stud that
He is.
Chicago needed.
Tremaine Edmonds is good, but their corners are slow. They do have two solid safeties. But their corners are slow, and their line is just all right. Their line isn't like scary. It's not. I'm not afraid of anybody on their D line.
Oh, D-line, okay.
Their D line, not their O
Yeah,
line.
because their O-line is interesting to me because it's been a bad offensive line, but now they have 4 new guys on the O-line.
Yes.
And I like that. But I feel like Justin Fields, the long runs that he had last year and how exciting he is, like I still think, until proven otherwise, and I think DJ Moore is a big addition and it'll help him improve. I think he's a better fantasy quarterback than he is a real quarterback.
Totally agree.
And dude, George, your brother plays offensive line. How many times does the offensive line get criticized, but it's the quarterback holding the ball for 9 Mississippi? And you're like, yo, bro, you also got to you got to help us, dude. If you know that your offensive line is bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he takes a lot of sacks that you can't put it on the O-line, bro.
Yeah, like, how long do you expect me to hold up?
Yeah, you're over there like, oh, no one's
Yeah.
open. It's like, bro, we're blocking best we can, dude.
Do you
You got to
think-
help us.
I think sometimes quarterbacks, when they are dual threat, they get taught the wrong way when they come into the NFL. And I think it's like because everyone's so worried about, okay, I don't want you taking a big hit down the field and, fucking up our franchise, that they just don't tell Justin Fields, like, hey, like after your second read, if nothing's there and you see something, like you're an athlete, dude. Like we're paying you tens of millions of dollars to make safeties look stupid. Like you got to do that. And I think last year was like the first time that, who's their coach? He has a funny name to me.
Eberflus?
Yeah, Eberflus.
And Getsy, the OC.
And then he just, he's like, all right, I'm just opening it up with him this year. And that's why I'm hopeful because it probably crushes dual threat quarterbacks when they come into the league and they're like, damn, I have to fit this mold now. Like this isn't college ball, like where I can just fucking improvise. I think he's learned that improvising skill And the reason why a lot of people are MVP hopeful of him is because he looks just like Lamar Jackson when he gets out in the open field. Not only making people look stupid, but he's a lot safer too. He's not taking big hits. He's dangerous. He is what everybody should be worried about in that division as far as
They have 4 receiving options.
And they did I was going to bring up, they did what I want all teams to do with young quarterbacks. Get them real guys.
Yeah.
Don't evaluate Daniel Jones when he has practice squad guys.
When he's got feces out here with him.
Don't do that to, even though Claypool was a nightmare, they gave up like a 2nd round pick, I think it was, Jared, to get Claypool. At least they made the effort to be like, yo, let's get him a weapon. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that matters.
But look at it this way now. You have DJ Moore, you got Claypool, and you have Darnell Mooney all at the same time, and you have Cole Kmet.
And now those guys it's the A.J. Brown thing where, Devontae Smith is a great number 2. I don't know if he's your number 1.
Yes.
Right? He's not getting Jair Alexander when the Eagles play the Packers. It's different matchups, and that's what I think DJ Moore does. But the momentum of, dude, Justin Fields was 120-1 to win MVP in February. Now he's like 19-1.
Yeah, you can't bet that.
Yeah,
Do not bet that if you are out there listening right now. There will be another opportunity to bet it at some point. I like what they did in the offseason.
Yeah.
I like Edmonds. I like what they did in the draft, right? They traded out of the number 1 pick. I mean, they traded the number 1 pick in the draft.
Which if you're a Bears fan or if you're a Bears backer, that's the organization being behind Justin Fields.
Yep. And then they drafted an
it.
offensive lineman, a really good one. And then they brought in another offensive lineman, Nate Davis. So they drafted Darnell Wright. They brought in Nate Davis. So you get the offensive line set. So maybe Justin doesn't have to run for his life last year. But you said it. They gave up the most points in the league last year, and they had the league's lowest pressure rate on defense. If those 2 things don't come back to center, less points, more pressure, doesn't matter what Justin Fields does. This is going to be another 6-7 win team, and they're going to go under their win total. I mean, they won 3 games last year, and now they're expected to win 8 if you want to cash an over on a win total.
Crazy.
Nope.
Tough bet to make to the over there.
It is.
Yep.
It is. And also, when you look at the win totals, you got 9.5, 8.5, 7.5, 7.5. That's also tight. And then it kind of factors in with the division odds. Lions plus 145, Vikings plus 260, Packers 4-1, Bears plus 430. Going back to what I was saying before, how this is the tightest odds of any division in football. For me, though, I'm going Packers 12-5. I got the Lions at 8-9. I got the Bears at 7-10. And then I got the Vikings at 6-11. I'm buying into the regression. 1-score games. Like best season ever in 1-score games.
1-score games, went 11-0 going into the playoffs and then lose to the Giants.
Yeah.
Like that's my barometer for where I think the Vikings are.
And you see this time and time again. It happened with the Panthers with Cam. They won like 8-1. The next year they go 3-5 in 1-score games. Happened with the Raiders just 2 years ago.
Yes.
They went 4-0 in overtime games. And then last year they lost, I think, every single game by 1 score.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's very difficult, dude. And I've been tracking this shit for years. The only time that I remember a team going like 9-2, Jared, and then the next year they go like 7-4 was a Russell Wilson Legion of Boom era Seahawks, right? Where it's like an exception, where this is a team where, they kind of had like a moniker. Like they got a if you earn a nickname in the NFL, like, you're nice, right? Like,
and Legion of Boom is low key back now too. You got Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams. I mean, like you're one little piece away.
Jets got a King's ransom back for him.
Yeah, he did right by them. Jared, how do you have this division playing out?
Yeah, I'll give the Packers 11 wins. I think the Packers and the Niners to me are both neck and neck for that 2 seed. But I'll give the Packers 11 wins. I'll go 10 wins on, and I'll go over 9.5, and then we'll go 8 wins on the Vikings, and Chicago's at 7.
Josh, how about you?
I've got the Lions winning the division with 11 wins. I've got the Packers with 8. I have the Vikings with 8. I have the Bears with 6. So I think they're all going to be really.
Got Lions at 12-5, Vikings at 10-7, Bears at 8-9, and Packers at 6-11.
Wow.
I'm not believing.
So you guys got a
Packers.
6-win difference between your 2 Packers predictions, 12-6.
Wow.
You should have some kind of a side bet here on the Packers.
Yeah, you said 12
Yeah,
wins.
I mean.
That is like literally when I tell you, Nick, people in Wisconsin love you right now because that.
Bro, wait, hold on. Are you a part owner? Did I? Because I was walking in this
Buying
one.
some
You,
stock.
you was in
I
the
should put
trash
some of that
can.
Patreon money or
There you
whatever.
go.
You know?
You start making some serious influence. Just be like, no, I don't want love this week. This is bad.
That's too funny.
But yeah, no, man, I am not feeling the and
Not
here's
feeling the love?
Here's one of the things. I do think it's tough. The Bears
Dang it,
playing
Dave,
the
that's twice.
Packers. I think it's the first time in 15 years that the Bears versus the Packers is actually like this might be one of the most competitive
Packers are winning that game week 1 as a dog.
rivalries.
Bet money line Green Bay.
Yeah. Like
Is it-
this.
Is it in Soldier Field?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they're a dog. In Green Bay.
How many was it? Is it like
I think
7?
it's like
Plus two, plus
plus
2.5.
two,
Oh,
If
yeah.
it gets the +3, I'm hammering +3. If it stays at +2, I'm just going to bet the money.
Oh, dude, if it gets to 3, we're putting the September Patreon money on
Yeah.
that one right there.
And also Packers fantastic teaser spot. Through
Mm.
both key numbers from +2.5 to +8.5.
I like
Josh, before we get into some stat leaders, I want you to give me your NFC playoff seeds.
Well, this was before I had
I'll do mine.
switched. I've got it.
Oh, you got it?
Originally I had the Eagles as the number 1 seed, but this was before I
Before you
So
got
no
influence.
Commanders.
came
Wait a
through with the
second.
Commanders. So
Okay.
I will go.
If you have the Commanders as a 1 seed, I'm stopping this
No,
show
no,
right
no,
now.
no.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
you're
not.
going to go to the bathroom again.
Yeah,
Go to the piss
we're gonna
break.
need to have the conversation,
No,
bro.
it's not possible. If that happens, literally, I will be whistling "Hail to the Redskins" like literally every day. No, so I've got the Niners at 1. I'll take the Lions at 2, the Saints at 3. I guess the Commanders would be at 4 because that would be the
Divisions, yeah.
division wins.
By the way, real quick, Jared, do you like that? Do you like the division winner getting a home game? Or do you think it should be the top 7 records?
I don't have a very strong opinion on it. I like getting something for winning your division,
Yes.
but the divisions are very flawed with their equity.
I think the loophole that I would try to do if I was the NFL, if you win your division, you host a home playoff game. But if your opponent has
More wins.
3 or more wins than you, we can't have that. Like
Well,
if you win your division and you're 8-1,
Like the Bucks last year,
and then
hosting
you gotta-
the 11-win Cowboys.
yeah, like that is
8-9
but-
against 11-5.
But
Yeah.
I'll say
Or
this.
11-6.
Yeah.
I'll say this. More often than not, that first wild card team ends up winning that game because they are the far
Dallas
superior team.
over Tampa.
If they're the superior team, then that road game
Except for the
shouldn't
Jags,
really
though.
hurt.
Jags were an exception. They beat the Chargers
yes,
last year.
Yes.
Even
yes, they
worse,
were.
12 wins the Cowboys had last year.
Wow. 12-5.
So 4 more wins.
+4 in the win total.
When it's that, George, I'm like, man, I feel like we gotta readjust.
We got to
this.
readjust.
How do you feel
these.
about that?
Yeah, no. I'm a huge fan of giving. If you got the best record in the league, dude, you know where you should be playing. Like, stop with this fucking nonsense. I'm not a fan of it at all. And yeah, I'm with if I'm good enough, I want people coming to Caesars Superdome. All right, even on wild cards. But yeah.
If
So
you're a
do you
wild
want to?
card, you were not good enough to have a home game. That is my feeling. Yeah, I mean, look, listen. If you couldn't win your division, that person gets the home game. They
See,
won the division.
This is where the NFL can start doing like fan votes and like start making us be a part of it, like an American Idol sense. Like, do you think that the Cowboys should get the home game this
Roger
week?
Goodell's never given that power up.
Oh
Yeah,
my
no
gosh.
way, no chance. Give me your playoff teams.
Cold
So,
dead hands.
We are going to lead it off. My Saints are going to be the best record in the NFC at 13-4, followed up by the Lions at 12-5. The Seahawks will win the NFC West at 12-5, and then the Giants winning the NFC East at 10-7. My 2 wildcard teams are the 49ers and the Vikings. And then if I'm going to put the third one in there, it would be the Bears.
Okay. I got Saints, Niners, both at 13-4. Cowboys and Packers, both at 12-5. I got the Packers as the 3 seed. I got the Eagles at 11-6. And then I got the Falcons at 9-8 and the Giants at 9-8. Jared, did you give yours?
Eagles, Packers, Niners, Saints, Lions, Vikings, Giants.
Okay.
Honestly, I didn't write down all the win totals, but
Well, you gave them out
Packers-
as we were going
yeah,
on.
Packers
So
and Niners, I think would tie for that. And then we give
the bathroom break happens
we
for
give
George.
You know what? We'll take a break quick because I got to use the bathroom too.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, it'd be
I
a
don't
good.
feel bad now.
It'd be a good, and we'll come back with the
Uh-huh.
league leader. Let's
5
get back
seconds.
into this with league leaders. This one, fellas, is gonna be very rapid. We'll speed through this. Just give me a name when I list the category. League leaders this year. Let's go with passing yards. Josh.
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert plus 650.
Kirk Cousins. I think he has his one of his first 5,000 yard seasons.
I also have Justin Herbert as well. Jared, rushing yards.
Derrick Henry, contract year.
I like that one.
Nick Chubb, no
That's-
gloves,
That's who I
extra
got.
tape.
I got Nick Chubb. Who do you got?
Bijan Robinson.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oof.
I don't hate it. George, receiving yards.
Calvin Ridley.
Yo, did you read my notes?
No, I didn't read your notes. At 3 a.m. because I slept like weird yesterday. I like woke up and I was like, holy fucking shit.
I got to check that price. 'cause
In
I do like that.
2020,
40 to 1. 40 to 1.
in 2020, he had
Yeah,
1,300
that's worth a
yards.
unit.
Yeah, a little, little sprinkle. Calvin Ridley for me. Who do you got?
Stephon Diggs.
Ooh, I like that one.
JJ, back to back. Especially if Cousins is going to lead the league in
Yeah,
passing.
yeah.
There hasn't been a back-to-back leader since Calvin Johnson, 2011, 2012.
And I would put Justin Jefferson on that level.
Yeah. Passing touchdowns, Josh.
Mahomes.
Mahomes, back to back, baby.
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I knew you're gonna like that there, Jared. This is like the Peyton Manning first year on the Broncos, like fucking
wow.
set the
He's
world.
still my broken heart.
I got Trevor Lawrence. Rushing touchdowns. I'll lead this off. I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley.
That's not crazy.
I'm gonna keep it same division. Tony Pollard.
Okay.
Same division, Jalen Hurts, tush push,
Oh my God.
Who you got?
13 to 1.
Jameer Gibbs.
I like that.
They listen, if the Lions are who we think they are, the Lions led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. He's going to get his opportunities.
What's crazy about this one is no one on the planet had Jamal Williams to do this last year. 'Cause-
Nobody. I don't even know if he was listed.
Yeah, probably not. Receiving touchdowns, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. George?
Travis Kelce.
Oh, that's a good one. That's actually
I
really
like
good.
Kelsey, but I think Cup, I would say Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
AJ Brown.
Huh.
AJ Brown. Okay. Josh, sacks.
Micah Parsons with 20.
Like Parsons a lot. We get some Parsons love in a little bit. What do you got, Jared?
So I like Myles Garrett, but I would also, if you're betting Myles Garrett, I would also bet his teammate Zadarius Smith, which might be one of the more underrated moves in the offseason for any defensive line.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to them in a
40
little
to
bit.
1 on Zadarius Smith. Myles Garrett's plus 650.
I got Myles Garrett for this one. What do you got?
I got Quentin Williams.
Oh, yeah. Big Q,
Yeah, man.
baby.
Wow.
Big Q.
With the Jets.
This is a hard knocks pick, ladies and gentlemen. And it's either the Jets O line just fucking sucks, but I mean, one practice he had 10 sacks. I mean, we all
Listen,
saw it.
All I know
We all
is
saw it.
Jared and George might be best friends after this one because you're talking up a lot of Jet stuff.
You know, I'm believing.
Interceptions, I'm going to go with a rookie.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez on the Pats.
That would help me and my defensive rookie of the year later on. I got Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons.
I think he's going to be rangy for you guys out there. I think he's going to get used in unique ways. And I got Isaiah Simmons.
Do you want to know something funny? I completely got this wrong because I thought it was how many interceptions the quarterbacks are going to throw the most.
Okay,
Who do you have
But
for that?
there's a market for that.
Yeah.
And it's Josh Allen at 10 to 1 who led the league in turnover-worthy plays last year.
Wow.
So there's your
Stallion.
curveball.
Okay.
Wild
That's the
Stallion.
curveball. What do you got for this
I
one?
also have a rookie. Said rookie is on my team.
Let's go.
Emmanuel Forbes with 7.
I like
Let's
it.
go.
Mm.
And just a overarching question for this one. Jared, do you think any NFL records are going to be broken this year?
So I looked at that. The lowest odds in terms of the ones that are most likely, right? Lowest odds. Passing yards over 54.77. Receiving yards over 1964. And then most sacks over 22.5. Of all of the records that were listed on, I used one of the local books. Those were the three that had the most likely
Right.
chance of happening. So yeah, I would say passing yards, receiving
Yeah.
yards, sacks. I mean, that's where the game's going, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So eventually, yes, I would say yes, one of those records I think gets broken this year.
I don't think, as far as passing yards, I don't think Mahomes does it this year because his line is not as good, and I feel like he probably misses a game or two because of that.
Oh, wow.
Can I tell you a crazy bet a friend of mine put?
Yes, I love that.
500 to 1. The Chiefs have the worst record in football. And he said he woke up in the middle of the night and saw the Tom Brady injury happen to Mahomes.
Well, yeah.
That's why.
That's what you're betting.
Yeah.
But even then, like,
Chad
they're
Henne's
winning
better
games.
than Chad Henne's better than most backups.
And is Chad Henne still is he still
I
there? I thought he
think.
retired. Didn't he
Maybe,
retire?
I don't know.
I think he
That's a
might
good
have.
question.
I know he had talked about it.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, no,
Well, like,
that's
you
still,
don't want to root for an
that's-
injury.
No,
No,
you never want to root for an
That's-
injury, but your friend's going to be
Yeah,
rooting for an
yeah,
injury.
right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Your
But
friend's
even-
going to be rooting for him to slip in the shower coming out of the bathroom.
but
Seriously.
even with that, remember this is Andy Reid who created Nick Foles,
Very true.
who created,
And that's what I told
a
him,
redo
too.
of Michael Vick. He created who's the other guy that like he kept having quarterbacks
Alex
come
Smith.
Alex Smith, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about with the Eagles. He had like 3 or 4 on the Eagles that went on to, they kept drafting dudes and then trading them because it was
Yeah.
like, you're obviously not going to beat Donovan out, but if Donovan misses a game, we'll make you look like a stud for 1 week and then get a second round pick for you. Like
Yeah.
that's
I'm
like
on
he knows what he's doing.
I'm on sacks.
Yeah.
I think you got Bosa, Nick Bosa, Parsons, Garrett, and Watt
Yep.
that could like
Not Joey?
And the offensive line play, if you want a macro take, has deteriorated significantly over the last few years because college teams are playing more gimmicky offenses,
yeah.
and the offensive line development
Mm.
has been stunted.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
That's why we're gonna need Mr. Carmona over there at San Jose
Fucking-
State to give you a
He's
draft pick,
ready
baby.
for it, brother. He's
You know what
ready
I'm
for
saying?
it. There is a record that I was like, holy shit. If the hype is real behind this kid, he has a chance. The rookie touchdown record was set in 1965 by Gale Sayers. If Bijan Robinson is that guy,
What is the number?
22 touchdowns.
Bro, 22 touchdowns. Steep.
Listen,
It's steep, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying he's going to get it rushing.
What's the
He's going to
record
get it
just for
receiving.
touchdowns.
no, that's LaDainian.
LT was like
that's
30.
29, 28, 29.
No, I think he was in 30s.
Did he have 30?
Yeah, I had him in
It's
fantasy.
in that area. But
He'd have to have
George,
an Austin Eckler type year.
George,
Like,
as much as you
I'm-
laughed at me for Bijan Robinson, if he breaks that record, I win the fantasy league.
oh,
Yeah,
100%.
probably.
100% you do.
I take it down. So,
But it's one of those
All right.
records that's like old that like, cause we had an entire episode about how every record's going to be broken in the next 5 years. It's no shocker. Like just get
They're
ready
gonna
for
keep
it.
adding games, bro.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're going
That's
to,
fair.
so,
an extra game.
but
Yeah.
this one's like, holy shit, it's withstood the test of time. This is a,
and he
it's
did
like
that. And he
60
did that in
years.
14 games.
Yeah.
That's
that's wild.
disgusting.
Brian Song,
22
great
touchdowns.
movie.
Let's head over to the AFC. We're going to start with the AFC North. We finished with the NFC North. Starting with the AFC North, I think the 2 North divisions are the most interesting for me this year. From a betting standpoint, storyline standpoint, I think it's the most compelling. I want to kick it off with the team I got winning this division. I think it's going to surprise you guys.
You say the Browns.
No.
Okay, all right.
But it's that black and yellow in Pittsburgh.
that is shocking.
I don't know if there's anyone else, Jared, in the sports betting space that gets a bigger overstimulation when it comes to second-year quarterbacks than I do. I bet second-year quarter. I throw like $25-50 on every second-year quarterback. Of course, it happened after the trend started of second-year quarterbacks. So I'm like 0 for like 15 now. But I do like Kenny Pickett. He won me over when they played the Bills and he got hit late. And he got in the Bills player's face on their sideline. And it was just Kenny Pickett with like 70 Bills players around him. And he was just talking shit to them. I like him, man. Look, they were 6-1 to end the year last year.
Yep.
I think the offense has gotten so much better with Pickens emerging. The offensive line, you told me again, shouting out to the golf venture that we had a couple of days ago. You were telling me about the offensive line.
All 5 starters played all 17 games last. 95% of the playing time came from their 5 starters.
And it's crazy because coming into last year, our big concern was, no continuity with the offensive line. Now
and then they
have
drafted Broderick Jones, who's one of the best tackles in the draft. So now
Yeah.
they have depth.
Now they have depth.
And Kenny Pickett, listen, you want to talk about walking memes with with Cousins. Kenny Pickett, for some reason, with the hands and the way he carries himself as a walking meme, the dude led the league in 2 categories last year: catchable deep ball rate and catchable rate under pressure. You ask me what I want my quarterback to do best: throw the deep ball and make plays under pressure. And he did both of those better than anyone in the NFL.
Their pass defense concerns me a little bit.
Yes. They lose Cam Sutton.
Yeah.
And they rely on Patrick Peterson.
Yeah. Who, like, you know, what is he,
And
like,
Joey Porter Jr. is very hit or miss
yeah.
from my Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yeah. He is, he reminds me a lot of like a Janoris Jenkins in the sense of he'll get a pick 6.
Yep. And then get toasted.
And then give up a 78-yard touchdown immediately after. Like he's that kind of corner. But yo, their schedule is good. You know, Tomlin 11-5 to the over, 3-0 last 3 years.
Straight winning season.
Yeah.
Does not listen.
And
Leader of men.
This is
Yes.
what I said about the Saints with the favorable schedule. They played 9 quarterbacks this year that weren't starters last year.
Love
That's
that
the
nugget.
Steelers.
The Steelers.
Love
Yeah.
that.
So
They're going to win 10 games, I think, and
That
compete
stuff,
for the
that
division.
stuff matters. That
Yeah.
stuff matters.
they're my team to win this division.
Me too.
I got them at 11-6,
Okay.
and I'm on Pittsburgh, George.
They are at the bottom for me because I think the team that's being the most overlooked, and this is just it's a tough division. Like there's no real bad teams here, but the Ravens are the top of my division. But if we're going to stay with the Steelers for a second, everything that you've mentioned.
Real quick, I feel like all 4 teams are live.
Look, you can.
Agreed.
I don't think there's gonna. We could all 4 of us could have a completely different view of the division just because it's that tight.
Yeah.
Nobody will be wrong.
So go on with the
No,
Ravens.
and I just think the Steelers, although you know they proved themselves towards the end of last year. 16 years in a row, all right, if I'm going in the law of averages, all right, he's due to fucking have a losing season.
Gambler's fallacy.
And I think it was I think it was close last year. I mean, for the past 2 seasons,
Well, they
it's
ended
been
the
that
year-
oh my
Mitchell
gosh, is this
Trubisky was their week 1 starter, and they still had a winning season.
They
Wild.
went 7-2 to end the year, and they finished 6-1. So they got hot. Yeah, they made up for it at the end.
I think I'm just not bought into Najee Harris, and I just want him. I want to see a better run game out of Pittsburgh because you're really relying on Kenny Pickett to,
I'm okay with
lead
that.
you to that.
I'm okay with them.
lead you
relying
to
on
the
Kenny
promise.
Pickett.
Not in those.
Promised land.
I will say, to George's point, and then also to Kenny Pickett, you do not want to have to rely on that in November, December in Pittsburgh.
They did.
You want to be able to run the rock.
And as a rookie,
They were fine last year. I mean, you know how I feel about running backs. To me, a running back situation is never going to be what tips the scales in one direction. It's the offensive line, which is elite. It's the defensive line, which is elite. They have TJ Watt, and keep an eye on Nick Herbig, first round or all pro or all Big Ten at Wisconsin, 4th round pick. Looked great in the preseason. Those 2 foundational pieces in the quarterback obviously is a wild card, just like Jordan Love. But if you're optimistic, then the Steelers' number's too low at 8.5. You're betting on
But
whether or not the streak will continue, 8.5.
Yeah, and but I mean, like statistically, they have the worst quarterback in that division.
Yes.
They have the worst quarterback, and I don't think it's close.
I think it's very close because
Deshaun Watson, how are we
Who
quantifying
would be
Deshaun
Who would be
Watson?
the second worst?
I
Like,
thi-
who would be there right there?
I think right now the worst quarterback in the division is Deshaun Watson,
Agreed.
who
He's the most
Listen-
unproven.
listeners of the show know back in 2020, I said, if I had a blank slate of the entire NFL, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes 1, and then I'm taking Deshaun Watson
Wow.
for what he did with, his last year with Houston, he threw like 30-something touchdowns.
Yes.
And they won 4 games. And I remember the visual of JJ Watt walking off the field, puts his arm around him. He's like, yo, bro, we're wasting you here.
Yes.
We're wasting you.
Yes.
But here's the thing. That was 3 years ago.
And
we haven't
He
seen
played in
him
fewer
play.
games than Kenny Pickett did.
and
last year.
about 30 allegations less.
But
But he's off that.
But he's the biggest X factor, I think, in this division by far. But also, like, I don't think it's fair to not have him as the worst quarterback in this division because we want him to be something he was 3 years ago.
It's fair to
He has to
ask the
prove it.
question on whether or not he's washed, as that word gets thrown around a lot.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. And
I don't think there's a right or wrong
yes,
answer.
I don't
I'm just
think.
saying,
I just don't think
Yeah,
he's
beauty's
washed.
in the
I
eye of
think
the beholder.
yeah.
correct. And I think he's going to get off literally many times. He's got solid receivers. Amari Cooper is a fantasy dream.
Dude, do you know how often I forget Amari Cooper is there?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
talking
really
about,
Elijah Moore, the one that I'm really interested
Yeah.
That's the one I'm barely. That's another X factor.
God, whatever happened to Anthony
Solid
Schwartz?
offensive line too.
He got cut
Anthony
yesterday.
Anthony Schwartz got cut?
Yep.
Really? It's a Madden God right there. It's a Madden God.
Look, the Browns to me, I like their roster across the board. I feel like they have talent in a lot of places. I just think that the Watson question marks are wild, man. It's asking a lot for a guy to go and pull back the curtain 3 years with everything that's been going on with him. And he's not exactly lighting it up now too. So I think it's, to me, I got the Browns.
I think it's the adjusting too. It's tough to play up north, and like the elements are a real thing. I mean, he played in a dome his entire early part of his career, and then it's difficult to be a good quarterback.
Jared, you know what's great about Cleveland? We're gonna find out right away. 3 of their first 4 games are in division.
And I think
Bengals,
Cincinnati
Steelers,
too
Ravens.
is another. I mean, this is a really tough division to handicap.
Yes.
I think Cincinnati's the best overall team, but Joe Burrow had a really tough start to last year, and you saw the impact of not having a full training camp, what it had on him. They started 0-2. And the Ravens have a new offense, new offensive coordinator, and their quarterback just got paid. So is that right? Are they going to be right away this elite team? I think I can poke holes in all 4 teams, and I can pump up all 4 teams, which is probably the only division I think in the league that I can really make a case for all 4 teams to win it.
It's
like seriously,
it's like the North. It's the same thing. It's just like
I don't know if I can make a case for Chicago to win the division though. That's the thing. I'm not there on Chicago, but maybe I'm closer than you guys are.
No,
But-
trust me, I'm there with you. But I mean, like, but both,
I can make a
both-
legit case for Cleveland to win the division.
Yeah,
Like
and you wouldn't
legit,
be wrong. They
way
had-
more legit than I can make for Chicago.
No,
to win
that's
the-
fair. All, look,
the NFC North.
all pro running back. They still have a very good defense.
Defensive player of the
You know
year.
what I mean, yes.
They bring in Zadarius Smith. Defense should be stacked, and if Deshaun Watson plays above expectation, they're going to be a playoff team. But I don't know if I'm there
They're-
on that last point.
Their basement is much higher than
Chicago's.
Yes,
Agreed.
yes.
Jared, to your point, these are the win totals for this division: 11.5, 10.5, 9.5, 8.5. It's tight.
That's tight.
And I'm seeing a lot of really smart, respected money on under 11.5 Cincinnati because of the Burrow thing.
Right.
And I'm seeing a lot of smart, respected money on Pittsburgh over 8.5 because of the things that we're
Tomlin.
talking about.
Yeah.
And Tomlin.
Yeah.
So even the ends of the division, I think, are being bet over and under. So it's like this division's going to be played in a phone booth, to use the cliche.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the Cincinnati Bengals. And Josh, I would love to get your thoughts on this. I talk about injuries. They've been very lucky.
Yes.
Since they got Joe Burrow, with the exception of him blowing out his knee,
ACL, yes.
which a lot of it had to do with the organization giving him a shit offensive line. But they've improved that.
Chase Young.
They've improved that. Luckiest team in the NFL the last 3 years from an injury standpoint. And the way that metric is measured is by how many starters are
Games
you
lost.
Yes.
Games lost to your starters.
They've been the luckiest. The worst luck is the other team in the division we haven't mentioned yet, the Ravens. We'll get to them in a little bit. I think Cincinnati, though you'll be hearing Cincinnati throughout this episode, I love their offense. They lose both of their safeties from the year before, and I think that the safeties were a core of their defense. But I think the division has gotten a lot better. They played the worst QBs as far as like DVOA goes in offensive rankings last year. So how good is this defense? And bro, like they've gotten so lucky with what is Cleveland doing at quarterback? Baltimore with all the injuries. So I think there's going to be some regression from Cincinnati, but I just think that if you have a top 5 quarterback, you're winning 10 games.
Yes. Yes.
So
I love Lou Anarumo, though, the defensive coordinator. I think he might be the best defensive coordinator in the league. So I trust him to get the defense set.
yeah,
I guess my thing, especially, we've talked about Joe Burrow just doesn't like the preseason. Like something always happens.
He's like allergic to it.
The calf this year, he had the appendectomy the year before, and then the year before that was recovering from the ACL.
Yeah.
He does not like the preseason. So, but for me, them losing him for 2 to 3 weeks potentially to start the season, I think those 2 to 3 weeks, if they do not win those games, will be the reason why they lose the division.
Agreed.
Because I feel like
That's why Pittsburgh has an option, an
I mean,
opportunity,
because
or Baltimore.
It's so tight that we punted 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now those 3, you know what I mean? Like George and I talked about it on the show today. Like if they don't come out and beat the Browns week 1, but the flip side of that is if the Browns don't beat the Bengals and they don't have Joe Burrow,
Right.
The
what are you
Ravens
doing?
go to Cincinnati in week 2.
Yeah.
I'm about to post a video.
I didn't even realize that.
I'm about to post a video that I did a show on VSiN last night, and I said sometimes the best ways to bet week 1 are actually to bet week 2. So if we think Baltimore is going to blow out Houston in week 1, and we think Cincinnati is going to struggle against Cleveland, the real bet to make right now is Baltimore plus 3.5 in week 2, because when that line reopens, it ain't going to be plus 3.5.
Yeah.
It's going to be 3 or plus 2.5.
Yeah.
And I can go bet plus 3.5 Baltimore right now, week 2 in Cincinnati. So again, that's just, I know that's like really in the weeds, like specific,
Oh,
but
that's
that's
a good
kind of like the advanced level strategy of when you see these
Moments.
discrepancies
Yeah.
with some of the lines and you're like, oh man, maybe I really should be taking a look at the next week's games because these teams play each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And also,
Really good- that's a really good
to your point about how big that game is, 21-5 since 2009, home division dogs in week 1.
Oh,
This would
huge.
benefit teams like Cleveland.
The
you know,
Jets too,
the
against
Jets
the
also.
Bills and your Giants against the Cowboys.
Yeah. So that's a massive
And the Colts
trend.
if you're brave enough against the Jags.
Yeah. So to me, I got the Bengals at 10-7. I also got the Ravens at 10-7. This is the best offense that Lamar Jackson has ever had from
Ever.
a talent standpoint.
Todd
Yes.
Monken,
Todd
stud.
Monken, yeah, for sure.
Zay Flowers, stud.
Their schedule is a little tough, but I think you're going to get some positive regression from the injury standpoint. Like, bro, back-to-back years, you're being,
decimated.
yeah, like injury bug is outrageous.
Can't get any worse.
Can't get any worse. So Lamar, I think Lamar in the MVP discussion, if all these guys hit on the offense, that could be something really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And, they went from 8.5 wins to now 10.5 wins. Jared, why did that happen?
Just some upgrades, I would guess. I haven't looked specifically into why last year it was a low number, 8.5 last year.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I would say the respect of the Ravens, you should at least consider them a 500
But do you
team
think
every
that
year.
had to do also with like the uncertainty if like Lamar gets traded or
Sure.
something? Yeah, right.
All of that thing gets baked into the line, but also pre-flop. Like, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast half days. Like, trying to remember what the narrative was on the Ravens pre-flop last year is tough. I think Baltimore is going to be a good team.
Yeah.
I don't see them being a sub 500 team. I see them in the playoffs. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be motivated. And if he's not, then there's a bigger issue. And I love Todd Monken. I do. I think Todd Monken is going to be the more like the diet version of Kellen Moore in terms of the impact he is going to have on the team is going to be a lot. You're going to notice, for example, the one thing I noticed in the preseason, last year the Ravens ran 11 personnel, the least of almost any team, 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back, 3 wide receivers.
Mhm.
They did not run any 3 wide receiver sets. In the preseason this year, 6 out of 10 plays on early downs were 11 personnel, 3 wide on the field.
But they also now
They're gonna
have the
spread it out.
yeah. But they got the talent now too, right? So
Yes.
it plays into
the
like
personnel matches what they're going to
Yeah,
try to do.
correct.
So you bring in Zay Flowers and Odell, and then you match it up with Bateman, and now you bring in Monken. The offense gets more modern. It allows Lamar Jackson to showcase a little more his
Yeah.
passing skills, and I think it makes them a lot more dangerous.
When
Oh,
he
yeah.
when
My
he
man Jared's stats are better than yours.
Yeah.
This is what I do for a living, bro. This is what I do.
Bro.
when he won the
why you
MVP
think I had
that
him on
year,
the show? Come on, baby.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen. That's
Call me
that's high
Dr. Nugget right
that's
here.
high level stuff. That's where I think listen. I think that's for all
Thank
of
you.
us in this room that are that are continuing to push it. That's where we all want to be. You know what I mean? Because that's the level that all of us possess. We all can talk about it, but whether or not I got the time to research that and actually
You got to
put
know
that
where to
memory,
look too.
But
that's
also
pretty good.
That
To,
is
to
true.
your point with the 11 personnel, it makes a lot of sense because now they got Odell, like you mentioned, Zay Flowers.
They
You
actually
got
have
the
3
new
receivers you can put on the field at the same
Yeah.
time.
So
and
it's
make it
easier
dangerous.
for you to run those sets if you have the talent.
Yeah.
And you still got Andrews, and you still got Isaiah Likely, they just drafted,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and J.K. Dobbins. I mean, listen, this offense has the chance to be
Dynamic.
explosive.
I
Yeah,
think
very dynamic.
they have the best 2 inside linebackers in the league, and Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen too.
Yes.
Like, I think they made it. They
bumping Patrick back inside was huge for them.
Yeah, no, and they're just.
And don't you feel like Baltimore always got to have good linebackers?
You have to.
Of course.
Like it's just one of
It's
those
just like the
teams
Bears.
where-
Bears.
Yeah.
This is like the Bears. They live for that second level for sure.
George, how do you have this division playing out?
I have the Ravens winning the division and actually having the best record in the AFC at 13-4. I think it is a prove it year for Lamar. And beyond that, I'm buying into OBJ for this 1 year, and this 1 year only, goddammit, because in the past I've been so anti-OBJ and he's always showed out. And I think, you know what? Let's do it this year with Lamar. Let's win him another MVP trophy, and let's bring the Ravens back to the Super Bowl contention. And not to mention, I think Harbaugh is one of the better head coaches in the league.
Yeah.
He's always got his men there. It's in a very tough division. I think he'll be able to take advantage early on in that season and win those meaningful games. I then got the Bengals at 11-6. After that, I got the Browns at 8-9, and this will be the year that Tomlin does not get an over 500 record, and the Steelers will finish 7-10.
Wow. Back-to-back divisions. My first is his last.
Well, this is going to be juicy.
It's
We
gonna be
definitely
fun.
need some
Side
side
bet.
actions.
Yeah. I got the Steelers at 12-5. I got the Bengals at 10-7, the Ravens at 10-7, and the Browns at 7-10. Jared, what do you got?
Steelers, let's give them 11 wins. Let's go 10 on the Ravens. I got to get the Bengals in there too. So we'll go 11-11 for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, but Pittsburgh wins a tiebreaker. And then 10 for the Ravens, and then slightly under.
Josh, what do you got?
I've got the Ravens with 12. I got them winning the division. I've got the Bengals with 11, and that goes back to what we talked about before with those Burrow games that they lose. And then I have the Steelers with 10, and I have the Browns with 8. So it's going to be a competitive division. I think the Browns, to what we've talked about, it really just comes down to what Deshaun Watson does. But I think those other three teams are going to be right there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I forgot to mention about the AFC, a real interesting tidbit. They play an extra home game this year. So they're the conference that has the extra home game. The reason why I bring that up is as we segue to the AFC West, the team that has been the daddy of the division. And I mean, like, the craziest stat, I think, in the whole NFL, bro. I couldn't believe it. I had to go fact check it, and I went through every single box score. AFC West home teams haven't seen a win over Mahomes in their stadium.
Mahomes is 11-0 against the Broncos in his career.
Yeah. He's never lost on the road in division.
That's
The only time they beat him is in Kansas City. That's
Honestly,
There's been some close ones here in Vegas.
yes, there have.
besides the Chargers being better with their new OC this year, Kellen Moore, the Chiefs are winning the division, and I don't really think there's a whole lot of discussion
Yeah.
for that. Like I don't see how they don't win the division unless Mahomes gets hurt and
Right.
slips coming out of the
500.
shower.
yeah. But like, yo, you
I
gotta
just don't understand how they don't win the division.
you gotta expect them to go at worst 5-1 in the division, right?
I don't. It's like it would take an act of God for them not to win this division with as long as the brain trust is still installed.
It's similar to what Brady had with the
100%.
AFC
Yeah.
East for many years.
But way different because
Mahomes does things that Brady could never do.
not only that,
no,
but,
not that.
but the rest of the teams are actually a lot better than what Brady and the
Yes,
Pats were running
Brady,
into.
Brady was. They
He
were
didn't have
running
no-
through
he-
there.
he didn't
That
have-
was no Vaseline over there.
But he didn't have no Justin Herbert to go up
No.
against.
Yes,
And
not at
that
all.
is becoming, I think, now with Kellen Moore, that is the pivot point.
Yeah.
Where there might be a passing of the torch at some point in the future between those two. I don't see it with Denver. I really don't see it with
Tell me about the Chiefs.
Ooh,
Is that who you have winning the division?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have the Chiefs getting 13.
I would be
wins.
very surprised if all four of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, man?
That's probably the only consensus we have the entire
Yeah.
show.
And you know what,
Facts.
dude? Honestly, until proven otherwise, it kind of has to be, right? Like last year, I got cute. The
Don't
year before
overthink
that,
it.
yeah.
Exactly. There's
I
no
got-
getting cute.
Yep.
You get cute in other ways. You don't get cute with the Chiefs here.
And like last year, I remember you could find like plus 140 on them to win the division. Because remember, there was a lot of Denver hype, way more
Oh, you
Chargers
lost
hype.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill.
Right,
The
right.
Tyreek Hill
Didn't
subtraction
matter
that everyone
one-
thought.
Yeah. Well, he
Moment.
was my MVP pick last year. 10-1. And it was, oh, y'all must have forgot. right? So until proven otherwise, dude, I got them at 13-4.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the rookies that I mentioned earlier in the show, they all contributed in the Super Bowl. The 2 DBs, Pacheco,
Yeah.
Sky Moore, I think is just going to get more and more involved.
He's going to get better. I think.
Rasheed Rice
Yeah.
is the one this year.
Mm.
You want to talk about rookies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
He's
out
been
of
li-
SMU.
He's been lighting it up. And again, I
What
think
about
it's
the Chris Jones holdout?
That's that literally.
Yeah,
You're
that's
always-
a fair
You're
pushback.
always on me, George.
But you know what? I think
Like-
I think Kansas City's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's fair to say that their win total is a little too high because they're expected to do all these great things. And relative to the market, I think I could see them winning a game less than what it is. I think it's 12.5.
Are they 12 and a half?
11 and a half.
11.
All right,
11.5,
so
yeah.
maybe so I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I would still be willing to bet the over on them.
Yeah, no, that's the luck. That's the luck. I wonder how they use Pacheco this year. I mean, I always just feel like they just are looking for that next little speedster out of the backfield. But I mean, at the second place in this division, I got the Chargers. I mean, you guys all went crazy with Herbert saying that he's going to lead the league in, what was it, passing touchdowns?
Passing yards.
I had yards.
Passing yards.
I had
Yeah.
yards.
So can they make it competitive? Is this the Chargers have a chance here?
When do they play
Like,
each other?
they play each other week 7 and last game of the season.
Where's the last game?
Last game of the season is at SoFi in Los Angeles.
So it'll be a
That's
neutral site
that's-
game.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's better.
I would have
That's
preferred it for
better.
the Chargers to be on the road in that one. It just seems
Yeah.
like it's better.
Well, also just the simple fact that that's going to be, good conditions.
Yeah.
You're giving Mahomes perfect conditions.
He might not
It-
even need to play in that game.
I do want to mention one thing, and then we'll go back to the Chargers real quick about the Chiefs. Again, with the schedule. They play the Eagles at home. Then they get Green Bay coming off a Thursday night game. So Green Bay has extra rest. They get the Bills off a bye. They get the Pats off a 10-day break. And then they have home Bengals at Chargers. So I think it's a little interesting, that scheduling standpoint, where the Chiefs play a lot of teams coming off extended rest,
Yeah.
which it's also the Chiefs,
Super
right?
Bowl hangover. They played the
Yeah.
deepest of any team last year. I could see them again not being a 14-3 team,
Yeah.
and they are running away with the 1 seed. But I don't see how they get dethroned when push comes to shove, they will win the division.
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
But they might
until-
not win. But they might not be 15-2.
Right.
Yeah.
And until proven otherwise, like, let's not get cute. I love what you said, Jared,
Don't get
about
cute.
let's make
Not
our
in this
money
division.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. There's other places to
continue
get
with the
Oh, I mean,
Chargers.
shit, the cutest we'll get is that I think that Sunday, January 7th versus Kansas City will be a hell of a game to be watching on TV because it could be for the home field advantage in the playoffs.
Could be.
I am way higher on the Raiders than what people think. They had a 6.5 win total. I think the Raiders are a 9-win team.
I have a very
Now the-
professional friend that really likes the Raiders.
I mean, to me, it's like Jimmy G has proven himself with Josh McDaniels in the past. He's a Super Bowl quarterback. Josh Jacobs signing was the big thing for me. It was like the
He led the
final.
league in rushing last year.
Yeah,
he did.
yeah, he's a bell cow, and without him, I mean, I know there is no hope for the Raiders. Like if they wouldn't have signed him, I think that taking under 6.5 would have been the right choice. But they were able to make amends. People are hyping up Michael Mayer, this tight end out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I watched him play in Vegas.
he
How do you
looks
guys
good.
feel about him? Because I keep hearing
Looks
a
good.
lot of good things about him, and it's a huge hole to fill. I mean, the Raiders
Right.
paid the tight end
Darren Waller's
$17
gone.
million last year.
I
So-
never let a tight end tip the scales for me though. He's gonna be a good player.
Kelsey.
That's the only one.
Fair. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
I don't.
about it.
But to be fair though, if you took Kelsey off the Chiefs, I don't know if it'd move the point spread for their first game of the year. Maybe a half a point. So it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, tight end. Yeah, everyone's
That's
gonna-
crazy to think that, but that's true.
I mean, there's really only one position that moves the points.
Yeah.
And then if it's a cluster at one position, so if like 4 offensive linemen are hurt,
Right.
Two receivers.
Yeah.
or the entire receiver room has
Yeah.
COVID, then yes, then the line will move. But the only thing that will actually move a point spread is
And
Yeah.
TJ Watt.
Yeah.
That's-
TJ Watt.
that's the only other position.
Yeah.
That I would even consider moving a point spread on.
I wanna go back to the Chargers because I was singing the praises of Kellen Moore. I think that of all the transactions that went down this year, whether it was players or coaches, I think it's the number one move that I think matters the most. And The thing with the Chargers, and I hate kind of saying this stuff because it sounds like the gambler's fallacy that you say, Jared. It's like it never comes together,
the gambler's
right?
fallacy.
Like it never comes together. They're always decimated by injuries. They have no depth. They have a lot of talent at the starter role, and you could probably say that for a lot of teams. But then when you factor in the payroll, it's like the drop off when a Keenan Allen and a Mike Williams, the real Mike Williams, when he goes down. Now you got Johnston coming in. I like him coming out of college. And it's just, he's a wide receiver that they really needed. They needed that home run threat, a guy that could take the top off the defense.
Yes.
You got Keenan Allen underneath. And they're a team that they just have a lot of talent. And I think Kellen Moore is going to be able to negate some of the deficiencies that Brandon Staley has as a head coach. Which, I mean, dude, to use the wrestling term fantasy book, like Sean Payton to the Chargers was something I was like salivating for like 2.5 years on him going there because of the young quarterback, offensive genius.
And now he's in Denver.
And I think his career is going to die there.
The Jerry Jeudy injury is not going to help.
Yeah.
Russell looked a little, I'll be honest, I don't think Russell's the problem. I thought it was just outside factors. I think Denver will be better than that. They'll be better than they were last year.
Yeah, I've kind of slowed down on the 50-1 for them to win the Super Bowl when I was saying it back in February when I was immediately when Sean Payton got there, I was like, yo, Sean Payton, and then Jeudy goes down, and I think they have the number 1 defense in football.
It's fair, Bradley Chubb.
Really?
And yeah, because
they got Frank Clark too.
Bro,
Yeah.
the thing with them and Surtain, they got the shutdown and Justin Simmons in the secondary. Yo, when you factor how bad the offense was last year,
that's fair.
they got the best defense in the league.
Well, their win total is 8.5. They're expected to be a 500 team. I think that's a well set line.
They decimated by injuries last year too. A lot of bad injuries that they had. And they were one of the most injured teams in the league last year. And I think it's a massive upgrade at the head coach because Hackett ain't work out with that.
He couldn't hack it.
And, if they weren't in this division, I'd feel a lot better. But, this is the hand that we were dealt. I'm really banking on Russ not being washed and Sean Payton being able to help him. And they'll get Javonte Williams back.
Yes.
That'll help. So
they're not going to be a team we're talking about in December. I don't.
That's
that's fair.
Yeah.
And also you don't like running backs too. So like it doesn't move. So yeah, I get it.
The running back thing to me, it's just, it doesn't affect how I feel about the team overall. Like game to game, yeah. I understand where there's, opportunities for a running back to have an impact, but.
So who would be a running back in the league if you had to pick that would?
Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey. And
those are guys that when I'm handicapping a game, their presence can have an impact on how I feel about a certain team, but it will never impact the point spread.
Right.
And it will never impact how I feel about a win total long term.
Right.
I mean, but McCaffrey to me last year on the Niners, he looked good, but then there would be games where he doesn't get that many touches.
Panthers won more games after he got traded.
Yeah, I mean, like it's
crazy.
It's kind of, obviously Derrick Henry, I think if they really utilize Nick Chubb more, I think the Browns.
It's a good segue to the AFC South.
Yeah. But
is there anything else on the Raiders? I don't really have nothing on the Raiders. They did lose a lot of close games last year after winning a bunch of close games. And also, not only that, only team in NFL history to give up 4 17-point leads in 4 different games.
Yes, they did. I was at one. I was at the Cardinals game.
They lost a lot of games in which they shouldn't have.
They got Hunter Renfrow back. So to me, I'm like, shit, finally. I made a hot take last year thinking he was going to be a top 5 wide receiver. That did not.
That was,
I think if Garoppolo stays upright, they can go over their 6.5. That's about the only take that I have on them. They are a team that I think.
7.
Yeah, I think if Jimmy stays healthy, I think 7 wins is very fair, and you're getting plus money to the over. Not the worst bet.
If you think also about Jimmy Garoppolo, he was in a division with not a lot when he was really with the Niners. If you really think about it,
as far as the other teams,
as far as other quarterbacks. Like you look
now
at
he's
you look at the
end of the
situation
division
now,
in terms of the quarterbacks.
Like, because like if you think about Russ was playing well, but but then if you look at the other teams in that division with the Niners, they didn't really have great quarterback play. Now he's in a division with Herbert.
That might be the best quarterback division in football.
I mean, last year it should have been. It was Derek Carr was holding up the rear, and that wasn't even.
Russ kind of fell off.
Jimmy G, Russ, Herbert. I mean, when Jimmy G is your fourth,
That's still
like,
a very
give
good
me
four.
another fourth quarterback in a division that's better than Jimmy G.
That's been to a Super Bowl.
I don't know if I can.
Mm-mm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
think about it.
Worst quarterback in each division. I think
Last-
Jimmy G might be
Yeah,
the
no.
best worst quarterback in his
Last year,
division.
three of those teams that had a quarterback that had quarterbacked the Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
that's saying enough in
Yeah.
itself.
I'd say with the unknown of Watson, I would agree with you. Like if I knew Watson could be 2020 Watson, I'd be like, yeah, that division has a
Yes.
stacked quarterback.
Yeah, well,
But,
and-
I mean,
and
Kenny
then
Pickett,
Kenny
right?
Pickett
Yeah.
is your worst
Yeah.
option. So it's
Yeah.
like, wow, that's still saying
The
something.
guy that led the league in catchable deep already.
Josh, how do you have this
Great
division playing
I
out?
love that stuff.
Playing out, I've got obviously the Chiefs with 13 wins. I think, like I said, I feel like that line, Mahomes might get nicked somewhere in there. The Chargers with 11, the Raiders with 7, and the Broncos with 5.
Dang. Okay. What do you got, George?
I got the Chiefs at 12 wins, the Chargers at 10 wins, the Raiders at 9 wins, and the Broncos at 5 wins.
Okay. A lot of
But
similar
like,
records, just the teams are out of order.
Yeah.
I'm on Chiefs 13-4, Chargers 12-5, Denver 10-7. I'm gonna put my foot down on Sean Payton. And then I got Raiders at 5-12.
I'll give the Chiefs 12 wins. I'll say they go over that win total. I'll say the Chargers have 10, and then we'll go 8 for Denver, 7 for Vegas. So they all go over except for Denver.
Yeah, Denver's tough for me to buy. I just have to, that's like a,
Yeah, Denver's.
You don't think the Raiders, they could go so south that they kind of like,
it'll
traded or something, ends up on the Jets?
it'll be a fuck Josh McDaniels kind of situation. Like, I think he can rub somebody the wrong way. And if it's Devontae Adams,
Yeah.
like,
There's
think
definitely
he's
the
gonna-
opportunity for blow up.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't.
Hard to
believe
bet
in,
on that though. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Don't believe in
I
Josh
think the number's
McDaniels.
really low on Vegas. I think there's if Jimmy stays upright, there's a chance that goes over.
The AFC South, the Jaguars. What a 9-1 to win the division last year. I gave them out.
Nice.
I was saying how I feel as if the only way you could bet them would be to win the division. Right. And I was just not buying into Tennessee. It was a more definitely not buying into Matt Ryan on the Colts. And I'm not buying into Tennessee. And then I love Doug Peterson. I think Peterson is amazing. Going back to what I've always been saying, like, you're a young quarterback. I need an offensive mind, like you were talking about too, Jared. Can't have no defensive guy. When you're 10 years in the league, give me a defensive guy, no problem. But early on, that's why Doug Peterson going there. I really liked it. I'm looking at the Jaguars, and I know some people that are like high on them, Super Bowl aspirations. And I'm looking at it, bro, like they were 3-7, and then they got wins that are like the WTF wins. Like, how'd you win that? They had a pick 6 against Dallas. They get a 2-point conversion against the
That was
Ravens.
nuts.
They beat the Titans, who were super injured. And then they had Dobbs starting in a play-in game, essentially. They had Wilson and Streveler, who was playing for the Jets.
Chris Streveler.
You know, like the epic collapse on the Chargers, too. Like, I love Lawrence. I think their offensive line worries me a little bit. Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
He's suspended. Injuries on the defense already in the preseason. That was already mid. Like, this defense isn't no juggernaut. I think that they're good enough to win the division, but anything after that is
Starting to get a little bit dicey.
Yeah.
It'll depend on the matchup.
like, bro, how different do we feel, Josh, if they don't have the Chargers collapse heading into this year?
Oh, I mean, well,
Say they lost by 30 like they were.
like they were. I would still listen. They won the division last year. You saw Trevor Lawrence take a step finally.
Right.
You saw the ascension. I still don't think he's, the best prospect since John Elway that everyone was positioning him for. But you did finally see a step taken, and you're adding a weapon back. You know what I mean? They brought in Calvin Ridley last year, but then also also lost Calvin Ridley. You add him back to the mix. Etienne takes another step. Look, Yeah,
They got weapons on offense.
They definitely have weapons. You know, Trayvon Walker, #1 pick last year. Does he take a step and really start to change that defense? Like little things. They do have some things that you can work around and you can buy into. You know, and look, Shad Khan, you know, he's an owner with the handlebar mustache. You can't root against that.
He's a wrestling fan. So he has my my cosign for sure. George, how do you feel about the Jaguars?
The Jaguars are the best of a worse situation. You know, it's like they will not get over 9.5 wins, but they'll still win the division. And I don't see any team, minus the Titans, really winning over their win total. But the Jaguars, to me, are a overhyped, very, very overhyped team. But Trevor Lawrence has got like this 1 year, in my opinion, to solidify that he isn't like a potential bust.
I think you're being harsh.
No, I mean, because he's of championship quality and of like, it's similar to Deshaun Watson and like when Dabo Sweeney compared him to Michael Jordan. You know, they have a very tough record to live up to based on what they've done in college. And that weighs heavier on people that have done it than people that haven't. Like, had Trevor Lawrence never won a championship, like, yeah, I don't think it would sit as hard on him. He would be very proud of where he's at. But he's a championship level quarterback who realizes that he's got Patrick Mahomes that's going to beat him out year in and year out in that division. And I think it could start to wane on his play. And I'm not saying the Jaguars are going to be shit team, but I definitely see that being the progression for Trevor Lawrence.
Jared, thoughts on the Jaguars?
I think I'm excited to watch that offense play, but I'm scared for the offensive line. So when I deep dived their offensive line, it was Cam Robinson, obviously. So that's their left tackle. Their right tackle last year, Juwan Taylor's gone, free agent. They were, I would say, below average in every grade that I'm looking at. And the guy that they drafted to replace Taylor played at Oklahoma and just is the developmental kind of prospect because he played in one of those gimmick offenses I talked about where the offensive line
evaluate those kind of systems.
So your left tackle's out for the first 4 games. Your right tackle, who was good last year, departed in free agency, and you replaced him with a rookie that we're unsure about. The one thing that is positive is, besides Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence had actually Burrow and Brady. Lawrence was 3rd in this category, lowest time to throw rate. Didn't need a lot of time back there. Bing, bang, boom. 2.5 seconds, ball was out. But the defense scares me because when I look at their pressure rate last year, they were 3rd in pressure rate, which is really good, but they were only 27th in sack rate. So they were not getting home. And when I look at defenses and I try to analyze how much pressure you're generating on the quarterback, are you finishing the job?
Yeah.
And if not, if there's a big gap in how much pressure you're generating compared to how many sacks you're compiling, something's off there. So I just think they're not a favorite of a division. They're odds on to win this division.
Yeah.
That is not a bet that I would make. Are they going to win the division? Maybe. But to me, it's closer to a coin flip.
Yeah, minus 155 right now.
Yeah,
I'm looking at. It's
no.
It's wild,
No,
but it makes sense though because they have the definitive best quarterback in the division,
Absolutely.
and that probably factors in
They don't
along
have the
with
best defense, though.
No, easily.
No.
And they don't have the best offensive line.
Can I give you a take? Do you know what defense I think might be the best one?
in the division.
Yeah, Houston.
I think so too.
I think Houston has a very undervalued roster.
Dude, last year, and it was a funny joke. I was telling Antoine in the control room, I was like, one of the reasons why this episode is so special is not only is it like the flagship birthday episode of VM, it's also like the only time last year where I spent 12 minutes on the Texans. It's like we spotlight a lot of different teams. And the more I was doing research on the Texans, like, I don't think they finished last in this division, which has been the case. And I like their defense. Like Stingley, he was nice until he got hurt.
Yeah.
Jimmy Ward, you get a veteran presence there. Petrie at safety. I've been reading a lot of things about him.
They just traded for that offensive lineman with Arizona.
Yeah.
Because Titus Howard's hurt and they got Tunstall on the other side. Their offensive line's, I would say, maybe slightly above average.
I think CJ Stroud has the best chance to be successful
Totally
right
agree.
away. And
Totally agree.
now, look, they gave up a lot for Anderson. I'm not a fan of giving up anything unless it's a quarterback.
New GM, aggressive.
Right. And
They're going for it.
I think D'Amico Ryans is a guy who,
Leader of men.
yeah. Well, who are you comparing before to a player's coach? Oh, Pete Carroll. D'Amico Ryans, same division formerly.
Well, I mean, you just talk about the ability to take a defense, what he did last year, and to make them even more better than their personnel. Because the personnel was great, but they played better than their personnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their secondary wasn't as great, but I think the Texans have a very good roster. Their roster's not the worst. They don't have the worst roster in the division, that's for sure.
I will say also, as far as D'Amico Ryans, out of all the coaches right now there in the league that are young on the younger side, he's a younger coach that also did play the position at a high level, Pro Bowler, linebacker. He gets what the locker room is. He understands the player's DNA differently than most of these coaches. So there's something to be said about your coach getting you and understanding.
I'm way more bearish on the Colts than I am the Texans. The Colts are the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's going to run for 1,000 yards this year, but he might not. He might not throw for 1,000.
He
yards.
might have to.
Yo, get him on your fantasy team.
Sure.
You know, basically Cam Newton 2.0 the
100%.
build.
But
yeah,
winning games,
going to be an issue.
no. I think the way I would stack this division, I actually like Tennessee a little bit. I think Tennessee defensively, I think Mike Vrabel is actually the best coach in the division. I think, especially in the underdog role, which is the role they're in right now.
That's their favorite.
100%. And they are the underdog now.
Best coach in the AFC pound for pound?
Pound for pound, baby. We're not even talking about this because it's kind of an an afterthought because it's Ryan Tannehill throwing to him, but they got DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, it's not an afterthought.
Yeah,
like that's a
big deal.
When that happened, I was like, in what world? Like
They have Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins on their team.
And dude, and think about it. If there's any wide receiver that could play with below average quarterbacks and be productive, it's D-Hop.
Now, I'm not saying D-Hop's going to lead the league in receiving, but I think what he'll do is he will allow a couple of those other younger receivers to not have to be the number one guy. And he gives Tannehill a bit of a security blanket. I don't love the offensive line. That's the issue. The defense is good. I think their defense might be the best defense in the division. I think them and Houston might kind of trade back and forth there because Houston's a little younger, but veteran quarterback, good weapons, okay on the offensive line, maybe slightly subpar, really good on the defensive line, great coach. I think they check more boxes than Jacksonville, who's I think a little more flashy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're the it team right now. Yeah. And look, also, there's a team who 2 years ago, they were the number one seed.
Yep.
And then last year, I forgot about this because my favorite bet last year, Jared, was under 9.5 wins for them. And they were 7-3.
And then Todd Downing got arrested for a DUI after the Packers game, and then they didn't win a game right after that.
And then shit hit the fan for them. And despite all this, they had a week 18 game
With Josh Dobbs at quarterback.
with a chance to win
To still get in
the
there.
division.
Yeah.
That's why pound for pound champ in the AFC.
Tennessee's winning the division this year.
Like, it's
Ooh.
Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston, Indy. The wins might be like 8-6, 8-7,
it's ugly.
7-6, but I think Tennessee's the team for me in this division.
Tennessee.
For sure, the best coach.
Mike Vrabel 4-1 to the over. I'm going Jacksonville just because of Trevor Lawrence. I have the concerns with the O-line and the defense, but I think him alone is going to be enough. I'll always gravitate to the best quarterback in the division.
Fair.
So I'm going to go.
Being priced like filet mignon, though, and I think he might be like the New York strip. He's good, but he's not the filet.
Yeah, especially not yet. 10-7 for me, Jaguars. 8-9 Titans. I got the Texans at 7-10.
I like it.
Which would be a massive upgrade for them for what they did last year.
Their win total 6.5.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. That's a big jump, but might be well deserved.
And then the Colts, we haven't spent much time on them. 3-14 for me.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor.
He's getting traded.
He is.
They have nothing but like number 3 and 4 wide receivers on their team that are now your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver. Like I like Pittman, but not when he's your number 1 option.
No.
And I like Alec Pierce.
Pierce, yeah.
Not when he's your number
And
2.
Quentin Nelson had one of his worst seasons as a pro last year.
Their
Something's
O-line-
going on there.
Their O-line is getting worse and worse. Where it used to be like, holy shit, this is the best offensive line.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So that's
The
how I
Colts
got
are
it.
the worst team in the division. Easy.
That's how I got
That's
it
an
playing
easy
out.
pick for me.
What do you got?
I got Jags going 9-8. I got the Titans going 8-9. I got the Colts going 6-11, and I got the Texans going 4-13.
Damn.
It's tough. I know, but it's going to be like a very hopeful 4-13 for the Texans. Like I see a lot of close losses where it's just like, next year that team's going to be legit.
A Lions 4-13.
Oh, dude,
Like
last
one of those
last year,
Lions
Yes.
they covered some big numbers last year. Remember that Thursday night game against the Eagles? They
How
were
about
like
the last game of the year.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Lovie
they
Smith's swan song.
That's hilarious.
But they remember they gave the roadmap to how to beat the Eagles. Truthfully, they gave
the
that
Saints did that weeks earlier. Okay.
Oh God.
Pounded down their fucking throat. That's what it is.
How do you got this division playing out, Josh, before we move on?
Well, so I actually have the Jags and the Titans tying. I have them both at 10 wins. I have the Jags taking the division. I have the Texans at 6, and then I have the Colts at 5 wins.
Okay. Last but not least, the AFC East. Like that one?
Jets.
One of my favorite sound bites of all time was Anthony Richardson at the NFL draft. Goes up and he goes, the Jete.
Oh, that's right. I do
It's like,
remember
dude,
that.
I was playing that video for like years, dude. That was such a good one. But we got the Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots in the AFC East. Let's not bury the lead, man. Jared, you're a Jets fan. You've been crushing it on this episode. Thank you again for your time. Lead us off, bro. Talk about your team. Are you excited? Are you feeling the hype? Are you allowing it? How about this one? Because I know how Jet fans are. Are you allowing yourself to be excited?
No. Because I've been
I've
been disappointed too many times in my life, in life, love, and football. Obviously, I'm excited about Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I think there are opportunities for this team to be the best. Like I think in the bull case for them, they have the best record in the AFC. Like to me, that's why you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, because you've got arguably the best defense in the league. You've got a head coach that everybody loves. You have the offensive rookie of the year. You might have had both if Breece Hall doesn't get hurt. Then you go sign Dalvin Cook. And again, I don't think any of those things tip the scales, because it's all about Rodgers. And it's all about the offensive line keeping him upright. And it's all about Mekhi Becton at right tackle, finally living up to expectations. If those things happen, there's no reason why this team can't go 14-3. Like, there's no reason. The early schedule does not affect me at all. I think they beat the Bills in week 1. I think Mekhi Becton at right tackle will be the reason they either win or lose 3 or 4 more games than expected this year. Aaron Rodgers' ability to create is just unbelievable. And I think he's got the best defense in the league, or at least the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to be in every single game this year.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to be excited, but I'm obviously trying to keep my composure.
You're a Jets fan.
I wanna mention the defense, because I think this defense is a top 3 defense. Definitely, you said number 1. I wouldn't argue against it.
Yeah.
The thing that jumps out to me is I look at turnovers, and sometimes you'll have like the 2015 Panthers were like plus 38 in turnover differential.
Yeah.
And then the next year they were like minus 15. The Jets, you look at the turnovers, and from year 1 to another, like they didn't get a lot of turnovers last year, and their defense was still good. So what I'm saying is, like, they didn't benefit off a lot of turnovers to make them be a good defense.
Sure.
And they got all pros at every level of the field. That's saying a lot, man. And again, I think it comes down to Aaron Rodgers, like you said.
Who are the Jet safeties right now?
Off the top of my head, I can't recall.
You got
Marcus May,
Adrian Amos,
They do still have. Oh, and they got Amos from the Packers.
Jordan Whitehead. Yeah.
and then they also got, like, obviously you got Sauce.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. I
And
know.
then DJ Reed on
And
the
then
other
you got,
side.
Yeah,
Reed
no,
on the other
Their
side.
corners are top. So here's the stat on the Jets that I think defines who they are. So when I look at the effectiveness of a defense, how much do you have to blitz? How much manpower do you have to put on the line of scrimmage in order to generate pressure?
Yeah.
Can you get home with your front 4? Last year, the Jets had the lowest blitz rate in the league. So they blitzed the
The
fewest,
least amount, yeah.
and they had the third highest pressure rate.
Yeah.
That
Is massive.
the ability to not have to commit extra men in the box, but yet you are still generating pressure at a top 5 level.
Bro, you're talking to someone who saw his team win 2 Super Bowls with
By-
just rushing 4.
With the 4 down
And-
linemen.
and-
That's
and
how
That's
they beat
how
the-
you win.
And Prince Amukamara and Aaron Ross are our starting corners. So
And-
like,
and Sauce Gardner is
yeah,
the defensive rookie of the year back there.
Yeah.
So it allows Robert Saleh to not have to worry about bringing extra guys, and he can use those guys in the secondary. The difference is, I mean, let's be honest, this team won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
How many wins is Aaron Rodgers worth to a team?
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 minimum
Yeah.
over Zach Wilson.
and I also think just
Well,
the
the-
confidence level of knowing that it's not Zach Wilson is going to play a big role
The
into
Jets
it too.
win total 9.5. Unless Aaron Rodgers is hurt, I do not see a world where they go under.
The Patriots game last year where you guys basically no one wanted to score. That game easily, that's one that already screams out last year. That game gets you to 10 wins. Now you're in the playoffs.
Now, yo, Josh, I was, I'm a little bit more concerned than Jared is about their schedule to come out the gates because they have a murderer's row.
They
But then
do.
after that, it gets very easy. And they have a unique point in their schedule where they play 3 straight home games against teams that are either dome or outdoor. Like, so they play Miami, Atlanta, and Houston after Thanksgiving.
I like that.
And it's all at MetLife. And also, they're the only team in the NFL this year, George, that plays 10 home games.
That's pretty
Because
lucky.
they play the Giants.
On the
The
road.
Giants are on the road, but it'd be like 50-50.
There will
Jeff.
be more green in the house for
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
If the Jets are 7-2 or whatever they're, you know,
yeah, whenever that happens.
I think it's like week 10 or something like that.
It's weird, man. Like, the Hard Knocks hype too. When I was looking at it, I was like, oh man, they're probably going to go under, but it's 9-8 to the over. So like the Hard Knocks hype, I think Rodgers is, unless he's completely washed, which I don't think
No,
he
He
is.
doesn't look washed.
Nah, he don't. And
I
he
don't-
he also looks a little fired up.
He looks
There's something about
motivated.
mental. Exactly. There's
Motivated.
something about mentality that makes the physical better.
Yeah.
Like when you're feeling good mentally, your physical abilities increase as well.
I
And
think
he's very
those-
eclectic and spiritual like that.
Nick, those Jets Giants games, do you ever go to those?
No, I haven't been to either of them. I got a great story for you. First time I met my uncle's now wife, was a fiance at the time. It was Christmas Eve when the Giants played the Jets, Victor Cruz.
I was at that game.
And I was sitting at the end of the kitchen table and I was looking up at the TV and I let off a lot of 4-letter
I
words
bet.
when he was running up that sideline.
I
And that
covered
was-
that game for local news.
And
in
Are
New
there
York.
are there a lot of fights at those games? Like Jets Giants?
I would assume, yeah. I don't.
Well, no,
I've
I
never
don't-
personally
yeah, I
seen
mean-
one, but I would assume. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really dislike the Jets. I've never
yeah, it's interesting.
you don't play each
Interesting.
other. In
I'll be honest. It's not as big of a rivalry as I think.
As
not really- it's
outside
not a big
perspective
rivalry.
comes off.
Exactly. Outside of New York, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Jets
The
Giants!"
Jet-
We're
here, as a
inside.
Jets fan, I hate 2 teams: the Patriots and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Those are the
Okay,
teams that
don't
I
really
hate.
hate the Giants.
why?
My dad was a Giants fan.
They're
I don't
just-
mind.
We got to get that going though. I think there would be a World War III. Like if they were in division, New
Now,
York
if they
would
one
set
day
fire.
played each other in the Super Bowl,
They would
I'd probably
never-
hate them.
Yeah.
It'd be a little, bit more vitriol.
To put it in perspective, when the Subway Series happened in 2000,
That's hate.
it was a little more hate, but it was more the fan bases hating each other because the Mets are very envious of the Yankees.
Correct.
And the Jets are very envious of the Giants.
Also correct.
It's not necessarily the team rivalry like Steelers Ravens.
Right.
Yes.
Where the players
Do not like
hate each other.
Yeah.
there's a little bit of envy amongst big brother, little brother, but it's not like hatred.
Yeah. Okay.
Nah, that's a fair assessment.
You a Yankee fan?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yankees, Mets. There it is. All right. Sorry.
Listen, we can't have it all.
Yeah.
see.
Dude, when I was in Colombia, I was on the Pablo Escobar tour. They're showing us the house. And Nacional and Independiente are the 2 teams in Medellin. And I was with these 3 dudes from Minnesota. And the guy goes, "Oh, growing up, no one is really an Independiente fan. It's like the little brother. They suck." And the dude just turns around and goes, "It's like not being a Yankee fan and being from New York." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm a Met fan, bro." He's like, "Oh, my bad, dude." I was like, it's just good analogy. I hear it.
That's
I hear it.
hilarious.
What are your thoughts on the Jets?
The Jets, I want to just believe in the hype. There are some things like when I think sports psychology and like where I get to like read.
Isn't it funner to get behind the hype for the Jets?
It is.
Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. Hall of Famers don't move cities very often in the NFL at quarterback. Doesn't happen very often.
Just
I'm a part of like
from Green Bay to New York.
I'm in it. I'm in his darkness retreats. Like the one thing that I've noticed about Hard Knocks, and this is like the sports psychology thing, is like he doesn't like when things get negative now. You know, I feel like he has this like very peaceful sort of like aura about him, and now. Like when he sees things go sour with the Jets and he sees the way like Nathaniel Hackett's still yelling, I think he forgot like how wild Nathaniel Hackett really is. And, you know, coming back, I think he's tried to instill like, hey, some zen into this crazy dude. How do you feel about Nathaniel Hackett? Like,
I'm fine with him.
Yeah.
I think every time the narrative gets really skewed, it's hard for me to believe things at face value. Things get twisted even at the simplest level, like telling a story to someone. The things that happened in Denver obviously were very negative, but to go from Nathaniel Hackett, who was one of the most respected offensive minds in the league, to then all of a sudden now he's just this clown. Like that's too big of a jump. He just wasn't ready for that job.
I just think there's certain players that fit his mold of coaching better. Like
100%, just like dating.
Yep,
100%. But he's not just like clown that doesn't know how to like construct an offense. He just wasn't ready to handle the pressures and the day-to-day of being a head coach. Not a lot of guys are.
Dude, I talk about this all the time. Some guys can't be Batman.
Yeah, so
there's nothing wrong with being a great coordinator. There's a lot of them that are amazing coordinators.
I'd put Todd Bowles in the same category.
But as
I honestly would.
But as
dang it, that's
I know.
strike three.
You know who else I'd put in there is Herman Edwards. It's the same thing. As a Jets fan,
Herm was a very good coach.
you got to
terrible game
remember
manager, the worst ever.
He watched it.
Jesus, Chad Pennington, you all right now. All right, Dagon.
Herman Edwards had no idea when to call a timeout, when to go for it on fourth downs.
Oof.
Some guys just don't have that. I watch Herman Edwards like walk by right now, hanging out. Some guys just don't have that ability to think quickly when the pressure is on. They're much better in structure and scheme, and it's not a knock. And it's not a knock on Hackett. It just wasn't ready for that job.
Correct.
Clearly, was not ready for that job.
I mean, he had a bigger prima donna than he ever could have imagined. He's like, oh, if I could deal with A-Rod, I can deal with Russell Wilson. Not.
You didn't realize what that Sierra factor was going to look like.
Their relationship's very interesting, and I think Rodgers feels like happy and peaceful in it. One of my like questions, and I know it's stupid about the Jets, is like there's times where I feel like Robert Saleh isn't the head coach, or like he plays the head coach role to like the extent of, are you just the GM? Like, you know, and you just get down to be on the sidelines. He's just, but he's got 7 kids. I could see how he can't worry about football and 7 kids at the same time.
I think Robert Saleh is a really good head coach.
He lets the coaches do what they're great at, and he doesn't try to interfere like a Mike McCarthy, I feel.
That's a good.
I like
that's a good
Holbrook
head
a
coach.
lot. I think the Jets coaching staff is not the reason why they won't be successful this year. It's the offensive line and it's Aaron Rodgers' ability to play.
The O-line is the biggest concern I have for them.
Because he'll yell at them.
100%.
To hit the ceiling that everyone wants them to.
It's disgusting. They might have the worst offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
It could be that bad if Becton just disappears again.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknown there.
It really could.
Josh, any thoughts on Buffalo? Give me your thoughts on Buffalo.
Oh, good old Bills. I mean, listen, the Bills, it's going to really come down to what that relationship is in the locker room between Josh Allen and not just Stephon Diggs, but the entirety of that roster. I think that Josh Allen has done enough. I mean, obviously he's a Madden cover boy this year, so like he has stamped himself in the league. But you know, you start to get that Dak Prescott feel where, you know, we get to the playoffs and we just can't get it done. We look great during the regular season. You know, obviously Jared's point as far as the interceptable plays that he's been a part of, but he's got to do something to get over the hump and do something, I would say, in a big way.
You know why I'm smiling, right?
I mean, you don't believe in him.
Nah, I mean, he lost Daboll, bro.
That's it.
Let's be honest.
Oh, well,
Let's be honest.
And it's another year where his voice is not, it's like,
you're getting further and further away from the voice.
and closer and closer to Ken Dorsey's voice, which
Look.
may or may not be good or bad.
All right, now,
Josh Allen.
That's strike 4. That's Hurricanes. That's the Miami Hurricanes, man. That's my
I can't
guy.
keep track of all your affiliations.
Yo, Josh Allen's still way better of a player than Daniel Jones is. However, the
Good
mistakes, Josh Allen had like 5 straight games with a turnover in the red zone.
He's a
Yes.
wild
Yes.
stallion.
And a lot of it, I think, is because Daboll's not there. And look, maybe that decline is starting to happen. Like you said, now he's another year away from that. And the dig stuff, bro, like I was making a joke with my buddy Jerome. We played football on Sundays for like a decade. Dude quit on me on the field like 180 times. Like, fuck this dude. I can't play with him anymore. You don't throw me the ball. It's like, bro, that's regular football shit. If you've ever played football, like that happens. Bro, I
The
was
Diggs
open.
thing doesn't factor in. You know what
That's
does factor in? You mentioned his name, Jermaine Edmonds.
That's a big loss
Lost
for
their
them.
leading tackler.
And-
That's a loss.
And another thing for me is, for the longest time, the best safety duo in the league, Poyer and Hyde.
yes.
How much longer do we got with them? Because they
They're
got
entering
injured
their
last year.
12th seasons.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
24
No.
combined seasons between them.
Oh, but between the two of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, Micah Hyde's been in the league for 12 years.
Yeah.
This is 12th year in the league.
Has Micah
And
Hyde
Tre'Davious
been in the
White.
league
And
this
Jordan
long?
Poyer's been in the league now for 12 years.
Oh my God.
And look, Tre'Davious White has not been the same corner since he blew out his
Von
knee.
Miller's
No,
coming off an
no,
ACL
he
9
isn't.
months ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So for the longest time, the secondary and especially the safeties were like the strength of the team. Now it's like, yo, that's
And
a
here's
position.
your cherry on top. Leslie Frazier resigns abruptly after the season. And Sean McDermott, who's been in the league now for a million years, now has to go back to calling the defensive signals, in addition to being the head coach.
Yeah.
A lot of red flags in Buffalo this year.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, man. And also, look, their offensive line is not exactly anything.
It's better than the Jets.
It is. It's not really
It's not
saying
saying
that much.
It's not
but
saying
it's
a whole
better
lot.
than the Jets.
So yeah, there's some concerns, man, with Buffalo.
Yeah.
But again, look, they have a top
Yeah,
5
cut me
guy
off
at
the
quarter.
foods.
They got a top 5 guy at quarterback, and I think for me that's going to be enough to win double-digit games. So
Jets,
Yeah.
Bills, Dolphins, Pats.
I want to stay with the Dolphins for a little bit because, man, they're a team that I could see, truthfully, and I think we talked about this when we were talking about
High
their
ceiling,
division.
low floor.
Yeah, like they can win 13 games to me,
100%.
and they could also win 6.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
could
I
win
don't think
2 if Tua gets hurt in the first week.
And I don't think there's another team in the league, especially in the AFC, with how good the AFC is, that has a wider range of outcomes than Miami.
Not to the upside. I would say Vegas is a team that Jimmy G goes down, bottom drops out, but I don't see a 10-win, 11-win team, even if Jimmy G's healthy.
Right.
Whereas the Dolphins, if Tua is healthy all 17 games, it is very fair to say that he was the MVP through the first 8 weeks last year.
Yeah.
Very
It's crazy
fair
to think.
say. And then the last 8 weeks, he barely played. So that volatility is why, to me, they're not a team I'm interested in betting.
Yeah,
Mike
and-
White. You saw it's at least a better replacement than Skylar Thompson.
Sure.
But I think with their offense and the way they operate anyways, it's nothing that's too hard to understand. It's RPOs and getting the ball out as quickly as humanly possible.
I'd
be interesting to see that.
Anyways, even before how great he was last year, I was surprised
Yeah.
at how well he played.
Hmm.
But I don't necessarily think it's repeatable. I think he is the most vulnerable quarterback in the league from an injury. If you were going to ask me, okay, Jared, for your life, pick one quarterback that will not play the full season, that's the first guy I would pick.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
without question.
Did you see he took jujitsu over the summer
That's
to
great.
learn
Maybe you can
about
practice with you.
falling?
Go, baby.
Yeah, teach him how to like fall better.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, he is arguably
Takedown
the
defense.
most fragile guy in the league right now. I think that's where I'm at on Miami, and I don't think I like Jalen Ramsey. I like Vic Fangio on defense,
But it sucks that Ramsey's now out until November.
and I
yeah,
think
that's-
I think Fangio's gonna. I think Jalen Phillips might be one of those leading sack, long shot, dark horse guys that we didn't mention
Yeah.
during that segment. I think that defensive line's legit. Secondary, yeah, it sucks that Ramsey's out, but I think they've got a couple pieces back there that you would
Still
think
got
at least
Xavier
can compete.
Howard.
Yep, and I think
And
Fangio
Eli
will have
Apple.
them in the right place. Oh, Eli Apple, that's a savior.
that's a,
But to me, it starts and ends with how many games Tua plays. If it's over 10, then the Dolphins can make the playoffs. If it's under 10, then they're probably going to win 5 or 6 games.
I've been seeing reports of Jonathan Taylor getting traded down.
That again, I think that helps.
That would
but
be
it wouldn't move the needle for me on a win total.
Yeah. The
I
other
don't think
thing,
it would.
It would definitely make you feel more comfortable.
Sure,
the other thing I find super interesting about Miami
I'd rather
is,
have them on my team than not.
yeah. The thing that's super interesting about Miami is they only have 7 road games this year, like true road games, because one of them, they play a game in Germany. And it sucks because that game's against Kansas City, and it would have been dope to have Tyreek go back to KC because it's technically a Chiefs home game.
Oh, damn.
So, yeah, they play. This I found interesting, too. They play no team off a bye week this year. So, like, no team is going to have extra time to prepare for them, which I think factors in a lot with how fast they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, dude, that was something that Baltimore was talking about. They were not aware of how fast that offense was. Because, dude, Baltimore had like a 28-point lead in the fourth quarter against them. And Miami came back. I remember I had a parlay, bro, with Baltimore money line. They're up 28 in the fourth quarter. And
You're counting your money.
Nah, I never do because I've been doing this a long time. I know how it goes. But my buddy texts me and he goes, yo, I followed your bet. And
And that was
immediately
it.
I wanted to throw my phone out the second floor of my fucking apartment building. I was pissed. Yo, don't text me unless it's over. All right, we've been doing this a while. We know how it goes. But
Wild game.
for me, man, Miami, the range of outcomes I think are the widest in the league. The Ramsey loss is big. Love Fangio there. And I think it really just comes down to Tua. I know it's obvious. It comes down to a lot of quarterbacks. But for him,
It's not the obvious choice. A lot of times is the
the
best
right one, yeah.
Like we overthink this because we want to be cute. We want to have this like crazy take. Certain teams, it's nine times out of 10, it's the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the only I'll say the only caveat to being able to offset that is having one of those type of coaches like an Andy Reid that has proven that it doesn't matter.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah, like I can blend the offense around whatever I have, whereas a lot of these coaches they can't do that.
Not Mike effing White.
Yeah, no.
That wouldn't be the guy I would want in there. I'd rather have a Jameis Winston in that situation.
Yes.
But he's with your team.
But, McDaniels, he's got the right vape juice loaded up this year. Damn, man.
I keep seeing this great meme on him that he looks like he's the guy that his dad's out of town for the weekend and he put him in charge of the business.
company. Oh, yeah. He made him CEO for the weekend.
I'm still trying to figure out where this
I love
he's mixed. I'm still trying to figure this out.
I love the fact that guys like that are respected in the NFL. Like, I always looked for a while, and I was like, man, I'll never be able to coach the NFL. Like, I don't look like some of these like stocky guys. And then Mike McDaniels comes in, and I'm just like,
his brain makes us look like idiots.
yeah. I mean, but it made me realize he did a really good job of writing out X's and O's on manila folders and for scout teams.
Yo, Josh,
Shout out to him.
When's the last time we were this, like, the least interested we've ever been in the Pats?
Oh, wow.
Because I think, bro, listen, I gotta
least interested. This goes back into the 90s.
I know Arizona is abysmal, but I bet them to have the worst record in the league at 40-1.
Okay.
New England. I think they have the worst tackles in the league. I've been calling him Mid Jones from day one because one of my buddies that I used to do this show with loved Mac Jones. He's like, yo, Bama, he walked like Brady at the. I was like, bro, he sucks. Like he's just not good.
Mac Jones walked like an assistant principal at the NFL draft. I'll never let him live that down.
Their schedule is rough. The entire division, except for them, got better.
Yes.
They play Philly, Miami, Jets, Dallas to open the year. I see 0-4. They might have the slowest offense in the league as far as like when you look at like the 40 times. I think it was with you that we were recording on that.
We were talking with this.
And
Tyquan Thornton, he would like to have a word.
Yeah, he mentioned the special teamer as some speed.
I have nothing more to add to the Patriots besides there will be better on offense.
Yeah.
Impossible. Very true. They actually have a guy who understands, and Bill O'Brien, say what you want about his head coaching ability. Another one of those guys.
He's
right.
As a head coach and offensive coordinator.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's also why D-Hop wanted to go there and was interested. So yeah, it definitely makes sense. But to me,
they will be better in that category, but they are limited in a lot of areas that are important. They're limited at the skill position level.
Look, defensively, that'll be the strength of their team, obviously, because like you said, their offense is just not that good. But I don't know. I think it might be something where we might see the last season with Bill Belichick there.
You feel like they're going to be that bad of a team in terms of like worst.
Their win total is 6.5. Got to be the lowest win total they've had in 2 decades.
Easily. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think they have the worst record in the AFC for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't like the tackles are bad, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
And now what did they do to help Mac?
They did nothing other than get Bill O'Brien. But I think that will help.
Yeah.
I think that will help. But to me, it's very easy to stack this division. To me, this was the easiest division to handicap for me. The Jets have the most upside, and they have the best. I think they have the best quarterback. The Bills are trending down.
Yeah.
Dolphins, very volatile. So you just kind of stick them in that 3 spot and hope that it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And the Patriots are the clear number 4 team in this division. Like, obvious.
Yeah. I have it very similar, except I'm still going to go with Buffalo at 11-6. Again, just it's Josh Allen. What happened?
We have the same.
Oh, let's go. I think it's outside of the Chiefs.
It's like the first.
Yeah, outside of the Chiefs. I got the Jets at 10-7, Miami at 9-8.
Yep.
And I put a little asterisk with 12-5 next to it because I could see like that being the case too.
That's their ceiling.
That's their ceiling, yeah. And then Patriots, I got them 2-15.
Dang. Jesus Christ.
You don't make anything
I'm not even gonna make a reaction out of that because in my mind, I really hope it happens. Nothing would make me happier than see Bill Belichick miserable all season.
I would never, ever.
That's spoken like a true division rival right there.
Yep. The Giants are not our rival.
Fuck that miserable old man.
The Patriot. Like when the Jets beat the Pats in that playoff game in New England, it was the Bart Scott can't wait game. That was one of the best moments in my football life.
Oh, yeah, dude. Every single Jet fan friend that I have was like, yo.
That was it.
We don't even care that we lost the week after,
That was better
bro.
than sex.
That was, that was great. George, how do you got this division playing out?
I got this division playing out. Jets 10-7. We're getting over that 9.5 win total. They'll be first in that division. Then I got the Bills also at 10-7, but I think the Jets are defeating them in both of their matchups. Dolphins at 9-8, and then the Patriots at 8-9. I see this being a very, very tight division the way I have it laid out, but I mean, it'll all depend if Mac Jones can, link up with Juju the way that I think there's a possibility there. I think, I can't look past Juju and what he did that first year with Antonio Brown. I think he, after 4 years in the league, can return back to some sort of that number. I mean, he was like a 1,400-yard receiver.
Yes.
So I don't think that's too far out of his capability, but we didn't mention, the person who's going to be pounding the rock. Ezekiel Elliott's looking healthy.
Oh, yeah. Well, Zeke makes such a difference.
And you love running back, so he's just like
Zeke
fucking...
going to the Patriots might be the least amount of impact of any running back going to any team in the entire NFL this year.
They're putting him at center, though. Did you not hear that?
He might have a better impact at center than at running back.
Seriously, Belichick saw that.
I honestly have no idea. And I think Bill is just like, he's trying to go so contrarian with some of these decisions that he's outsmarting himself. But I think this might sound crazy. I think the Jets might have the best record in the AFC this year if they can protect Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I know it sounds homerish, but how can I not?
No, I put my Saints at top of the NFC.
You did. 13-4.
As we wrap up the AFC with playoff seeds, I got Chiefs 13-4. What?
I didn't give mine.
Oh, okay. I keep forgetting. You keep walking out every 30 minutes.
I got to take a piss.
Listen, you don't give somebody a drink at the beginning of a show and then say sit for 4 hours. I couldn't do it.
Stallion right there.
He is.
I only had 3 sips.
He's locked in.
I am locked in.
That thing full.
It is full.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He'll have to chug that at the end of the
I'm remembering
episode.
all these amazing stats. It's not because I'm hammered out of my ass
that thing
right
is
now.
absolutely full. Yes, and I've had 3, so I'm sorry. To your point, I had the Bills 11-7. It's 11-6, excuse me. 11 is always weird now. The 18 schedule. I had the Jets with 10. I had the Dolphins with 9, and I had the Pats with 8. Okay. So I just can't bet against Bill Belichick to the point where you just said. Bill Belichick will commit suicide mid-season if they win 2 wins.
He would love he would love to die on the field.
That would you literally will witness the death of Bill Belichick on a national stage if the Patriots.
Mac Jones is taking him to the grave. That's what's happening. Mac Jones is. Yeah.
He's gonna right before he died. You did this, man.
AFC playoff seeds for me in order: Chiefs 13-4, Steelers 12-5, Bills 12-5, Jaguars 10-7, Jets as a wild card 11-6, Bengals and Chargers round off the wild cards at 10-7. And then when you look outside of like Kenny Pickett, man, the quarterbacks in the AFC playoffs, if that ends up being the playoffs, whew, it's going to be fireworks.
That's pretty electric. I got something similar, though. I got the Ravens top of the entire conference there at 13-4. Then we got the Chiefs 12-5, Jaguars 9-8, Jets 10-7. Then my wild card spots are the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chargers.
Josh, what do you got?
I have the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Jags as the winners, the divisional winners. Then I have the Bengals, I have the Jets, and I have the Titans.
I really struggled
I
with
have the
this.
Chargers.
This was the hardest part of the whole exercise, picking 7 teams.
Yeah.
I had to leave out. My first iteration didn't have the Bengals in the play. And
Is
I was
that
like,
crazy?
and I was like, whoa, no, I gotta rethink this. Chiefs, Jets, Steelers, Titans. Those are the division winners in order. And then Bengals, Bills, Chargers. I had to leave out the.
That's
Like, I just
gotta hurt you.
I can't. I
tough.
want to put the Ravens in, but I don't know who to take out. Maybe the Bills.
You know what's crazy? In the last 5 seasons, you've had 6 or more new playoff teams every year. I have 5.
Nice.
So it's tough, man. And
It
especially
is.
in the AFC.
AFC
like
is really hard to predict.
AFC, truthfully, Houston, New England, and the Colts are the 3 teams I can't imagine make the playoffs. Everyone, like the Raiders making the playoffs wouldn't shock me.
That would be crazy.
I won't say that's shocking, but that'd be a stretch.
So I have the. I think the Bengals. I think the Bengals being a wild card team is bad news.
The Bengals, yeah.
Okay, so let's before we get into the AFC playoffs, NFC playoffs, let's do awards. Very similar to how we did the stat leaders, kind of just bounce around, just give out a name, and we'll speed through this. Let's go with Offensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Christian McCaffrey.
Nice.
I like it.
That's what I have also.
Justin Jefferson's the only other choice I would even make, but I like that one.
What about you?
Jalen Hurts.
So the thing about this award is usually quarterback MVP. Oh boy, is a skill position player. That's been the trend recently.
Yeah.
But prior years back, it was kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
So could switch back.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised. I wouldn't bet against a skill position player for this award.
Yeah.
Because
No,
I don't know.
no.
If
It does seem like the trend now
That's
is
the trend.
MVP is a QB.
Yeah.
Yep.
Offensive Player of the Year is a skill position player.
Yes.
bias.
Yo, you could probably get like 50-1 on Offensive Player of the Year for him just because.
Well, just because he does, you know what I mean? He's going to impact the game both as a runner and also as a passer.
Fair.
We'll continue.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year, I have Michael Parsons.
Same.
Myles Garrett.
Garrett.
Quentin Williams.
Okay.
I like
That was
that.
who your sack person was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it. That
it
aligns.
fits.
That's what my sag. Yeah, that makes sense.
George, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be from the Pats, Christian Gonzalez.
Okay. I like that one.
I got a
He's
good
in a
one
good
for
system.
you. Will McDonald.
At a farm. I didn't.
Jets pass rusher has been featured a lot during.
Oh, yeah.
Hard
He's
knocks.
got like the
got
mushroom
all-
earrings. Yeah.
Check him out. Dude gets off the ball.
He's
And then
pretty
Nolan
swaggy.
Smith, too, is another one I'll look
Nolan
at.
Smith. Yeah. What do you got?
Emmanuel Forbes. I said he's leading the league.
I'm going with Joey Porter Jr.
Oh,
I like
wow.
High risk, high reward. If
Yeah.
he gets like 2-3 pick sixes.
Could lead the league in interceptions.
Yeah.
He could.
Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year is going to be Dan Campbell.
Ooh, okay. What do you got?
LaFleur.
LaFleur?
I had Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell. I got Sean Payton.
He's
Well, you said you have. We're on our convictions.
Yeah.
This is all
Yes.
on
I'm
our
willing to bet
convictions.
that comeback player of the year, we're all four on the same
no, guys, come on. Let's think of one other guy that can
can't. No.
shock the world.
No, don't even do it. Don't waste one dime.
Yeah.
What do you got?
It's
Damar.
It's Damar Hamlin. bro.
It's
Calvin-
the award. The
Calvin
second he steps on
Ridley.
the field, it's over.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley.
See, here's the thing about that. This is a very hard award to quantify what comeback actually means.
Yep.
He wasn't injured. He
Yeah.
wasn't hurt. He didn't drop dead almost on the field.
And
He
there's
just was suspended.
right. And there's certain sports
It's hard to
books.
say that that's a comeback.
There's certain sports books you need to ask because Mechie,
John
Yeah,
Mechie.
yeah.
he like
John-
overcame
John-
cancer.
Yes, he
he's
did.
in some places he's not eligible because he hasn't played in the NFL yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be on the field before you can come back.
Brian Robinson,
Same thing. Had no chance to win it last year.
and I bet him. I
Yeah.
saw 20-1. I was like, oh shit. And
And
then
the narrative. This is an award where narrative matters, but it's a weird narrative.
yeah,
It just
I think
depends on
DeMar
what the
Hamlin will
narrative
win
is.
this. They should rename this award
The
in
DeMar
his
Hamlin.
honor
They might.
after this year.
Yeah.
It's minus 250-ish,
Oh wow.
There's
which-
never been that
but
for that award.
there's a reason why.
Yeah.
You can't, and don't even bother betting anyone else.
Dude, I wish I had like 10K recreational money.
Exactly.
I really do. Bro.
I wish I had 500K that would take this.
Yeah. The
It's
moment
basically like a certificate of deposit, like a bank interest.
it's a immortal lock.
Yeah.
Immortal lock. Josh, MVP this year.
Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Lamar Jackson.
Joe
Lamar's
Burrow.
back.
I like
Going
it.
Joe
Wow, we went
Burrow.
all
I like it.
QBs.
Even missing the time.
Wait,
With the
get
missing
that
time.
better number after the first. If he misses the first couple games and then buy in on it, love it.
Oh,
That number's
especially
going
if
to
they
drop.
come out like 0-2
Yes.
and then they just go like 13-4 still.
Hammer that number if they start slow or if he doesn't play and it drops. That's a
Joey
good number
B,
to
baby.
buy.
That's a
I love it.
That's a fair call.
Joey
I
B.
love it.
That's actually
Okay.
really fair
I
call.
want to do your NFC title game, Josh.
NFC title game. What did I have in the playoffs? I'm gonna go with Niners, Commanders.
Come on, bro.
Jesus. Don't invite him next.
That's all right.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, listen. George is over here thumping the Saints with 13-4.
That's realistic.
And I-
You're fucking talking about the Commanders playing the NFC Championship game.
George, I watched the Commanders beat your Saints last year.
Go on.
We were both bad. Doesn't matter. Stop it.
Another steak dinner on that one.
Yeah.
I'll go Eagles over Packers.
Eagles over. Oh, I like that one. What do you got?
Just as cracked out.
No way.
Listen. This means a
You're
lot
right.
right here.
You're
I got my Saints versus the Lions, but I think the Lions beat them because the Saints won't have played competition up till that point.
Okay. I got Niners Saints NFC title game. Niners Saints.
Yes.
I literally hate
Advance
everyone
them.
with this.
AFC. Bro, you had the worst answer
No.
on the entire
No.
show. Yeah.
No.
100%.
Literally, you guys look, okay. All right. Let's really let's step back. Let's step back and pull this apart. The Saints were not a good team last year. They weren't.
We already
literally-
pulled this apart. We
they-
did this.
yeah,
We did
we
this
did.
division
No,
already.
we can pull it apart.
We did
again.
this.
They literally
I got 20
just
minutes
got-
until I got to go pick
We
my
did
dog up.
this.
So hurry up.
We did.
all right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys have your
Yeah.
moment.
Nah,
we can talk about this.
Yeah.
I
till-
didn't even
till
go
we're
into
blue in the
Taysom
face.
Hill
Yo.
being a fucking wild card.
Respectfully, you just got to take the L, bro. That's it. Like Trey Lance and the Niners, you got to
Yeah,
just take the
I
L and
agree.
move on. Give me your AFC title game.
My AFC title game is the Ravens versus the Jets. Ravens beat the Jets.
Bengals over Chiefs, just like last year. Well, just like the last 2 years, actually.
Yeah, I know. This is going to be the third three-peat.
Josh, what
not?
do you got?
Chiefs, Ravens.
I like it.
I also have Chiefs Bengals.
Nobody took the
Wow.
My Super Bowl is 49ers Cincinnati. You can get that at 40-1. Some people have finalist props.
Yeah.
Or
No,
some
there's a bunch
places.
of them.
Yeah, exact.
And I've got the number on my exact. It's a pretty good number, too.
And
Bet those.
I got the Bengals winning the Super Bowl this year.
Bengals over Eagles, 40-1.
I'm all in on Cincinnati, man.
Man, me too. I think Burrow starts slow and then the crescendo. And they've been so close the last 2 years. They're right there.
What do you got, Super Bowl?
Obviously not the Commanders.
I was waiting for it.
Bro,
I didn't even put the Jets in the Super Bowl.
Bro,
We're
listen,
gonna go.
I'm making graphics for this, so just know you're gonna get fried.
Listen, hey, look, listen. And I just want my flowers if anything goes right. If anything goes right,
Like I said,
don't
what'd you say?
don't
10
go
wins, 11 wins. I said 11. You said 11
I
wins.
said
for the
11. I said
If
11.
they get to, I'll even give you an extra win. If they win 10, steak dinner right here at Allegro, or whatever they serve at Allegro. I don't know. It might not be steak,
Oh,
but
no,
you get the point.
We're going to the Golden Steer if we're doing
Oh,
that.
I've never been actually. I'd like
yeah,
to go to the Golden
yeah.
State, but that's neither here nor there.
Come on, Super Bowl. What you got, Josh?
Ravens versus the Niners. Redo. No Beyonce.
No
Ravens,
Beyonce.
Ravens again. Take down the Niners. Niners have now lost.
Wow. What do you got?
I think this is the year that Detroit, I didn't just wear the Honolulu Blues for fucking shits and gigs. Like, I really do think you got to buy into the Lions hype this year. I got Lions versus the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Lions
Wow.
win it in Vegas, and I will be in attendance.
Super Bowl's in Vegas.
I will be in attendance. I'm the security vest and a ladder. And if that doesn't work, then I got an executive suit, just like the dude that was stealing Brady's jerseys. I'm getting in.
For trolling purposes, like any AFC West team being in the Super Bowl would be hilarious for Raiders.
It would be.
Because they hate that. Imagine like
That's
Mahomes wins a Super Bowl in your building.
You know what the thing is, though, that I've learned about these Raider games? Not a lot of Raider fans attend.
They're getting better. They're getting better.
When the Jets and Giants come to town in a few months, there's going to be way more green and blue in the stands than black and silver.
Yep.
They're doing a better job, though. There's a Raider podcast out here that's like being proactive and creating packages with the hotels to like.
Oh yeah, no,
to like
and I think
ship
it will,
people out here.
Improve, but when they get those
big teams,
Yeah.
100%.
Steelers,
Yeah.
Packers,
Cowboys.
And
whatever.
this
Jets,
season in particular, it's
Giants,
a really fun Raiders home schedule.
NFC East,
Yeah.
right? Oh no, AFC East.
But they play
get-
the Packers,
Yes.
they play the Steelers, they play both New York teams.
They play
Like
the Giants.
they have a fun schedule this year. So
Mm.
yeah. There you have it, guys. The 2023 NFL preview show. We went about 3.5 hours. Jared, thank you so much for coming on. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. George, thank you so much for coming on. It means a lot to me that you guys were here. Give me your time. This isn't an hour-long show, so you guys, I appreciate you a ton for that. Thank you very much. Shout out to Brian and Antoine in the control room for being over here and holding us down. And yeah, there's a preview show. When you listen to this, there's not going to be a show on Monday, so we're going to let this one breathe. And when you guys check it out, please share it, tag us, tell everyone about it. And leave us a comment, rating, review, the whole 9. At Nick Dais 10 as you can find me. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. George, tell the people where they can find
At
you.
Mr. George Carmona at Gridiron Junkies for all your football needs this upcoming season.
Anything else you working on?
I'm working on so much shit. I just don't want to listen. Gridiron Junkies is top priority.
Yeah. And you'll be seeing George on the Monday show with me, which will be going live starting this year too. The shows are going to be going live on Mondays and Wednesdays. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Veterans Minimum. Josh, where can they find you?
The American Fan 365. We are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. George, where else we at?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Newspapers. We're transcribing the podcast, putting it in newspapers. Why not?
We're building it. We're building it, getting exciting. Got some things coming up. So
And Jared, where can they find you?
At Jared Lee Smith, all socials, and VSiN, Fox Sports Radio, Bally Sports, doing a bunch of sports gambling content and doing just the whole NFL season. It's gonna be fun.
And out on the range, baby. Let's go. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.
I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's